Force 1440. And the Oilers Nation YouTube channel.
Just after 2 o'clock. How are you? Welcome to the Monday edition of the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440. Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook, as always, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. Alberta's only regulated online gambling website where 100% of the revenue stays right here in the province of Alberta at PlayAlberta.ca. Hope you had a great weekend. Oh, my goodness. Is there lots and lots to discuss in the sporting world? The NHL regular season kicked off. And, oh, my goodness, if you're a Sabres fan, you're 2 games in and you're like, oh, are we going through this again? Sabres can't score. 2 goals in 2 games. Yikes. They got outshot like 2-1 in the second game against the New Jersey Devils. Now, it is only 2 games, but when you're a team that's missed the playoffs 13 consecutive years, I could see how that fan base would be on edge quickly. Heck, the Oilers went to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final, and people are fired up about a line change. Never mind losing the first 2 games of the season and only scoring 2 goals. So that was less than ideal, to say the least. We got MLB playoffs, 2 games for you tonight. Of course, Detroit is in Cleveland for Game 2, and the Yankees are hosting KC. Both the home teams leading their series 1-0. And man, that was a blowout for Cleveland. They dominated Detroit. Meanwhile, the Yankees and KC are one of the best postseason games I've ever seen. And then tomorrow, the Mets and the Phillies will get back after it. They're tied at 1, as are the Padres and the Dodgers. You had a huge weekend in the NFL. Few upsets. Offense looks like they've woken up across the league. Some tight ends, actually, with some big production. Maybe you had one on your fantasy team. The CFL, we know who is in the playoffs in the Western Division. And it isn't going to be the Edmonton the Edmonton Elks. And it won't be the Calgary Stampeders, as both of them officially eliminated on the weekend. The Riders and BC are basically going to play for a second place and home field advantage this coming weekend. The Bombers, they'd have to lose out to not get home field advantage. Meanwhile, Montreal and Ottawa are in. Toronto and Hamilton. Hamilton still, I guess, has a chance. They would have to win out. Toronto would have to lose their final 3 games of the season, which includes 1 game in Edmonton on the 25th of October. The Elks play this weekend in Calgary. Then they have a bye week, and then they are hosting Toronto in their final game of the regular season. I'm expecting the Elks to have an announcement. Now, will it be before that final home game? That I don't know. I could see it coming during the bye week, as they want to announce their president. Interviews are ongoing. See if they wrap it up, make that decision. It's pretty important hire, because then the Prez is going to be in charge of picking the people that help run this team moving forward, because the Elks got to get a direction. Right now, they don't have a direction. They don't know left from right, up from down, backwards, forwards. They got no plan. I think it's obvious. So you got to get some people in who have a plan. We'll see if it works. The Edmonton Oilers wrapped up the preseason on Friday with another loss. Does it matter? I guess it depends who you are. Leon Draisaitl, I don't put much stock into it. Quote, however, we do need to play better. He said, it's difficult going from Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final to a preseason game on a Wednesday, was his exact quote. Says it's a little bit different. However, was quick to add that there should be no motivational issues come Wednesday night when the Oilers take on the Winnipeg Jets, I think, based on practice today and based on what Chris Knobloch said, I'll let you listen to his comments here momentarily. But Jeff Skinner might be starting the season with Adam Henrique and Connor Brown, Jan Marks with Draisaitl and Arvidsson for a variety of different reasons. Draisaitl said his game needs to be better. Skinner didn't have any points. Arvidsson had one. They didn't do a lot. Let's be honest. They didn't do a ton 5-on-5 in the preseason in the few games they played together. Knobloch mentioned how, that line, 3 guys are all passers, kind of just looking for the slot shot. So maybe need somebody who's a little bit more north and south, kind of go to the net, break things up. I think Arvidsson can do that, though, right? It's preseason. So I won't be shocked if you have Skinner play with Henrique maybe in game 1. And I won't be surprised at the end of the regular season, Skinner's still most common centers are either going to be Draisaitl or McDavid because he's a really good finisher. Now, in theory, Knobloch is correct. Henrique and Skinner on your third line, when you look at their past histories of guys who can score 5-on-5, McDavid's line is going to score 5-on-5, and Draisaitl, been pretty productive player 5-on-5. Despite people suggesting last year was a tough year for him 5-on-5, even though he's 7th in the NHL in scoring 5-on-5. His goals were down, yes, but his goal goals against, solid, and his point totals, solid. So I really disagree with any notion that Draisaitl had a down year 5-on-5. His goals were down a bit, yes. But overall, no, I don't think it was. So, he can produce regardless of kind of who he plays against. I think, when he mentioned, hey, let me just start by saying, I think whoever I play with, I can make them better. That's what I strive to do. I'm confident I can do it. So whether it's Perry, Janmark, Podkolzin, Skinner, probably might see some different guys up there, according to a Knobloch. But it looks like it might be Janmark to start game 1 tomorrow. Stetcher and Kulak. Looks like they're the third pair, Emberson and Nurse. And then, of course, Bouchard and Ekholm. David line stays the same. The fourth line had Podkolzin, Ryan, and Perry. The other news around the Oilers today, Raphael Lavoie has been claimed on waivers by the Vegas Golden Knights. So Raphael Lavoie finished at least his first stint with the Edmonton Oilers, playing 7 NHL games. Didn't I look at him and you know what? Maybe a new place, a new opportunity. Maybe it'll help him. I hope it does. Good guy. We've had him on the show many times, right? 38th overall pick from 2019 is hoping to latch on and get a regular spot in the Golden Knights lineup. We'll see. Now the Golden Knights, they put 3 veterans on waivers. They lost one of them to Columbus and Aston Reese. So if I go down their lineup, they also picked up forward Cole Schwindt. So they picked up Schwindt and Lavoie. And so now they've got Eichel, Stone, Hurdle, Carlson, Barbashev, Roy, Howden, Doroviev, Kolazar, 9, Olofsson, Holt, Schwindt, and then Pearson and Lavoie. So they're going to carry 14 forwards to start the season. So we'll see if Lavoie's, you know what, he's got to get in games. I'm sure at some point he'll get in a game or two, but we'll see if he's a regular in their lineup. And how waivers works is at any point, there's no deadline, but because you're a team who puts a player on waivers for the rest of this season, whether it's November, January, March, if Raphael Lavoie gets sent down to the minors and no other team puts a claim in, but the Oilers do, and you don't know if other teams, it's not like you can claim him after the fact. You either put in a claim or you don't. And if you put in a claim and no other team claims him, then the Oilers can send him directly to the minors. That's how it works. So that's why I said his first stint, because doesn't mean he's for sure a lock to stay in Vegas all year long. For his sake, I hope he does. Right? That means he's collecting NHL paycheck all season long. Great. Good for him. Although he did that last year in a one-way deal. And we'll see where it goes from there for Raphael Lavoie. So actually, no, last year, no, he made the mistake of signing the 2-year and or two-way deal. Big difference. So I hope for him he gets a chance, man. It's a tough league to crack into, and it's a harder league to stay in. So he got 7 games. Maybe he'll bust up and he'll end up playing 70 this year. We'll see. But either way, as of right now, he is now a member of the Vegas Golden Knights. We'll take your texts, 833-401-1440, 833-401-1440. in our eWell inbox, your partner in power since 1975. For all your electrical gear, get it 24/7 at ewel.ca. The other storylines like NFL had some big game, man. If you're a Bengals fan, you got to be pretty concerned about where your team is at right now. Man, they looked like they were going to get a huge win against Baltimore. Things are going well. They had a 10-point lead. And then they gassed it, and then they lost a coin flip, and then they still got a turnover in overtime, Connor Halley, and couldn't manage to kick it in for the winning field goal.
Yeah, had an opportunity. Joe Burrow did what he did. 3 straight running attempts when you have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins who are lighting it up, while Joe Burrow, not counting wins or losses, leading the league in touchdown passes, just 2 interceptions, and you come out and run the ball 3 times to try to get some first down. Kind of mind-blowing when you look at it that way, Gregor. He's averaging 8 yards completion here.
Yeah.
You got to get the ball in his hands. He's one of the top quarterbacks, one of the highest paid guys in the league, and you try to run the football. I thought that was a little bit dumb. Thought maybe karma for that was Derrick Henry busting out that big run. But yeah, if you're a Bengals fan right now, despite Joe Burrow playing some of his best football we've seen, still not winning football games, got to be a bit of a concern.
Yeah, for sure. That's great. Honestly, they're 1-4 now. I know teams at 1-4 have came back to make the playoffs before, so it's not unheard of. I think it's happened 12 times, if I'm not mistaken. I think I heard that on the NFL network the other day. So I think that's what it is. But it's challenging, no question, and that's a tough loss. But you're right, man. T. Higgins comes back in. Him and Jamar Chase looked unstoppable, and then you're in overtime. You don't throw to them once. What? It's odd, man. Like, odd. I know you're at the 38-yard line. You're like, hey, we just got to get into field goal range. Well, you didn't get into field goal range. Like, it was brutal. Absolutely brutal. Just do a few short, quick passes. I know you'd thrown an interception on one, but don't be scared just because of one interception. That was odd for me. Some of the other games of the week that have attention tonight, of course, the Monday Nighter as the Chiefs hosting New Orleans, as the Chiefs will try to match the Vikings, who are 5-0, as they beat Aaron Rodgers. He threw 3 interceptions. Wasn't great. The Bills, that was a tough loss against Houston. Jacksonville gets a win. No longer winless are the Jacksonville Jaguars. Actually look good in that game offensively. Anyway, Washington continues to roll. Jaden Daniels, got to be the best exciting young player in the game that everybody's talking, that nobody really thought at the start of the season would be this good. Arizona gets a big win over the injury-riddled 49ers. Green Bay squeaks out a victory. What about the Giants? I wonder, we'll get Strutty on tomorrow. Was he upset that his Giants were all over Seattle to get the win, and Dallas finds a way to get a victory in Pittsburgh? Man, that probably should have been a blowout. They kept turning the ball over in the red zone. Interception, fumble, missed that, a blocked field goal all in the first half. But they managed to preserve it because I thought they were the better team for the most part. What stood out for you, Cons?
The long day, like 16 hours of football, whatever it was with the London game, and then the rain delay in Pittsburgh to kind of slow it down and make it a bit of a stretch. But there was a few things. I thought, the Houston Texans deserve a lot of credit. Declan, I know you're behind me. Sorry for bringing it up again, but a big win for them to get the job done against the Buffalo Bills. Commanders, like you said, Jaden Daniels, I think the first ever rookie quarterback through 5 games to have 1,000 yards through the air and 250 on the ground. What he's been able to do with that team, a 4-1 record. That's just fantastic. And I think you got to give another shout out to the Minnesota Vikings, or another impressive win against the Jets. The Jets obviously have their struggles on the offensive side of the football, but what Brian Flores has done with that Vikings defense the last couple of years, you got to give him a lot of credit. I know there was the politics that played a role with him losing his job in Miami, but I have to think another NFL franchise is going to take a look at Brian Flores and see if they want to give him another look, because he's really built up that Vikings defense, an impressive unit.
Hey, guys, I told you should have kept Lavoie on the roster to start the year from working on his name. Yeah, you did say he'd get claimed, and we'll see. Like I said, Raphael Lavoie, you can make the argument, had they kept him on the roster for a week, maybe Vegas doesn't claim him, but maybe they would have claimed him in a week anyway. We'll never, ever know. It's a what-if game. Obviously, the Oilers felt like It was more important to them to accrue cap space. That's why they sent him down. Or they just felt like he wasn't the guy for their team. And that's happened to a lot of players. Lots of guys get claimed on waivers. Some of them turn out to have really good careers. The majority of them don't. That's just the truth. You know, we can always think of the Marty St. Louis and, you know, the other guys, 100%. But they're still the minority. Right? And so I hope Raphael Lavoie, for his sake, he's in the minority. That would be great. But he's going to Vegas. They got 14 forwards. We'll see if he gets in the lineup. Where's he going to fit? Who knows? But he's on their NHL roster to start the season, so that is good for him. Hey, guys, who's faster, Corey Perry or Aaron Rodgers? So running? Well, here's the thing. They've both been very successful despite being speed demons, right? Not everybody has to be fast. And Corey Perry has had a pretty good career without being fast. Aaron Rodgers, same thing. Aaron Rodgers, though, are his best days behind him, Connor Halley. With every passing week, it sure looks that way.
Yeah, I would agree with you. You got to remember, Aaron Rodgers is, north of 40, coming off the blown Achilles. Speed is not going to be his greatest asset at this point. Keeping him, in the pocket, I think might not be always the best thing too, because that's where he's going to do the most of his damage from. So yeah, you want to get him to move around a little bit. I would say so. I mean, I don't think he's the last couple of years ago when he's the back-to-back MVP. That's not who he is anymore. I wonder, with the Jets looking at that, is there any urgency to go out there and bring in a Devontae Adams from the Vegas Raiders? Looks like he's finding his health. And how much would it help? Would it really do a whole lot to give up some assets and bring him in at this point? The Bills have lost 2 in a row. The Dolphins, they're struggling. The division is up for grabs. Now would be the time to make the move. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers is not the man he used to be. That is for certain.
No, not remotely close to the man he used to be. Hey, Greggs, what was your thoughts on the Elks game? Well, that's the final nail in the coffin. And their first quarters in their last 4 starts, have not been good enough. Right? Bethel Thompson's last 3 first quarters, 0 points, 0 points, 0 points for the offense. Not great at all. Their offense came alive. Second quarter was amazing. They looked great. The third quarter interception was a tough one. Ultimately, that's what the difference in the game was. Hey, you don't throw that pick, they don't get 3 points. Now, I guess you lose by 1 because you missed the single point. Maybe you make that single point if the game's different. I have no idea. But they didn't get it done at the end of the day. And one-dimensional offense does not work. That's a fact. When you are that pass-heavy, it doesn't work. The Elks, when they attempt over 30 passes a game, they are 1-10. Come on. When they have a rusher with 100 yards, 4-2. So now there was one game where they had 100 yards rushing and 300 yards passing. And they lost. So it's the one exception. But for the most part, when they are not balanced, they don't win. And the play calling at times has become grossly predictable. It's like they have to run on every first down every time. Like it wasn't working. Well, if you believe your quarterback's forte is short passes, then why not mix one in on first down? Why always wait till second down? I don't get it. So they don't have much direction right now. I firmly believe when the new president is hired, there's going to be a new GM and a new head coach. That's from what I see now. If I'm the owner, that's not what I would do. But we'll see what the owner does. It'll be fascinating. There's a few things. I'm going to say it right now today. It is October 7th. If I was the owner, my first 2 moves that I would do, well, 3, I guess I'd hire a president. Then I'm going to hire Ed Hervey as my general manager. And in the offseason, they're going to change the name to the Esks. Not bringing the Eskimos back. They're not going to do it. But Esks appease people. It doesn't offend anyone. I shouldn't say that. There's always someone offended nowadays. And they might be offended by what color shirt you wear. But whatever. The same people won't be offended. It's a way to connect. It's really only changing one letter, an L to an S. But lots of people will connect the S to the history of the franchise. So they're the Edmonton Esks from now on. You hire Ed Hervey, and then you play it out. Now, the good news is their coaching staff, their current GM, their interim tag guys, their contracts are done at the end of the year, so they're not going to have a huge carryover because of the cap and everything, so that helps. Make no mistake about it. And then I have a plan, because when Herbie was the GM, it's the only time the Elks in the last, since 2005, have had any semblance of consistency and continuity. And the reason why I hire him is I think it's important. The Edmonton Oilers don't need it because the Oilers are the big dog. The Elks, just like look at the Riverhawks. Riverhawks, Randy Gregg Group. Local owners, people in the community, people relate to them. They see them lots of places. That matters. Jones was never living in Edmonton year-round. Preston didn't, right? They need somebody who lives here year-round who understands the community. I think that's vital for me. And, of course, understands the game. I think there's been too many people who the organization has brought in who wanted to do things different than what they did for the longest time to make it successful. So if I was Larry Thompson, those are the moves I would make. Prez. And, a good president who's, and when I'm interviewing him, well, who do you think you'd hire as GM? Who's on the top of your list? And then I would find out who he has on the top of his list. That would impact pay. So why? Explain to me why you think that guy's the right answer. Right? That's all part and parcel. But I'd have Hervey as a GM. I'd change it to Esks, and away I go. Quick break. We'll come back in the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
The Canada-wide clearance is on at GMC. Get 0% financing for up to 72 months on the 2024 Sierra 1500 Elevation. With Sierra's 13.4-inch diagonal premium GMC infotainment system with Google built-in compatibility, available off-road package with hill descent control, plus an available 3-liter Duramax diesel engine, you can take the road less traveled and try new things, like fishing or whitewater rafting. I should have gone fishing. Ask your GMC dealer for details.
Well, get ready for a silly, hockey fans. Your partner in power just skated onto the ice.
EWEL.ca, the new e-commerce website for electrical wholesalers Edmonton, is ready for the power play 24/7, 365.
UL skates to where the puck will be in 5 years. Now that's forward thinking.
Killer selection, slamming products from the best brands, and legendary service.
Don't sit on the bench. Get your account today at EWEL.ca and win that project.
Plug into your partner in power. Get an EWEL.ca account today.
You've got a go-to coffee spot, a trusted barber, even a lucky game day jersey. But when it's about looking your absolute best, there's only one name you need: Mr. Dirk. Family run since 1939, we're experts in crafting impeccable tailor-made suits and offering a wide variety of everyday styles. Pair that with personalized one-on-one fittings and the convenience of on-site tailoring. Mr. Dirk elevates your style game. Visit our Edmonton store or explore MrDirk.com. Score big on style with Mr. Dirk.
It's Midnight Madness at the Brick. Stores will be closed on Friday to lower prices and then reopen at 5 p.m. with incredible 7-hour deals in every department. Get 30% off furniture and free local delivery when you spend $4.99 or more. Plus, get 40% off mattresses and buy any TV or appliance to get a $50 credit for furniture, home decor, and mattresses. See in store for details. The Brick, saving you more.
Raise a smoothie to any friend you've had since 1999. That's a good friend. And Booster Juice was there. Now celebrating 25 years in Canada and more than 450 locations from coast to coast. A silver anniversary splashed with Celebrate 25 years of Booster Juice with the return of OG favorite smoothies like the Orangesicle, the Marathon, and the Original, made with oranges, bananas, strawberry sorbet, and probiotic yogurt. Happy 25th Booster Juice. Download the Booster Rewards app today.
The job isn't done until the last load is hauled, and having a semi-trailer out of commission is not an option. Whether replacing or adding to your convoy, Edmonton Trailer has a huge inventory of new and used semi-trailers, trusted by the gravel, logging, oil field, fluids, and freight industries. Find a trailer right for you online or at one of their 3 locations. For sales, service, parts, rental, and finance, when you're in it for the long haul, Edmonton Trailer.
I'm Colin Livingston, president of Cantork. Since 2016, we've been at the forefront of hydraulic torque wrenches in Canada. I'm delighted to share our latest venture, in-house production for quicker turnaround, superior quality, and heightened versatility. Experience excellence at cantork.com.
Through. Welcome back. Jason Gregor Show, Sports 1440. Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook. How are you? The NHL regular season is officially begun, but it really gets going. More teams in action tomorrow. And then, of course, Wednesday, the Edmonton Oilers will have their season begin when they host the Winnipeg Jets. The Oilers actually open up with 4 consecutive home games. They got the Jets, then the Blackhawks, the Flames on Saturday and Sunday, and then the Philadelphia Flyers next Tuesday before they head out on a short 2-game road trip to Nashville and Dallas. So they'll get to see the revamped Nashville Predators, the Dallas Stars. I think that's a matinee game, if I'm not mistaken, on the Saturday. So the first one of the season. There'll be a little extra juice in that game, too, after meeting in the Western Conference Final. Last year, usually the playoffs always bring a little bit more animosity the following season, which is awesome. So looking forward to it. Let's go around the NHL now, brought to you by McDonald's, and you're looking forward to it. Monopoly is back. Oh, you can win, simple things, fries, food, big prizes. Stop in, try it today, only at McDonald's. As Ryan Kennedy from the Hockey News joins us. Ryan, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Hey, man, appreciate it. I know it's only 2 games, but when you're an organization that has missed the playoffs 13 years in a row, and last year you struggled scoring goals, and then your opening 2 games of the season, you only score a goal in each game. How concerned are Sabres fans, and how concerned should they be?
I think they're very concerned right now, but I don't think it's that bad because the New Jersey Devils are probably one of the best teams in the East this season. And in one of those games, Jacob Markstrom made possibly the save of the year, and none of the other teams had even played yet. But I think we can call that save, possibly the save of the year already. So it was bad luck for the Sabres. I'm sure they would have loved to get a split in Prague, but I'm saying just pump the brakes for a week or 2 once they get back and they play a couple more games against teams that aren't at the top of the pile. But I do know that there's a lot of anxiety in Buffalo right now.
Oh, God, I would 13 years, man. That's the longest in NHL history. Of course, currently tied with the Jets for longest active in the 4 major sports leagues. I think it's 16 in the NBA. I want to say Sacramento went 16 years without the postseason. So the Sabres definitely don't want to, but they're in a real tough division, which makes it even more challenging. Jerry Swayman gets signed by the by the Boston Bruins. I don't know why I keep missing those 2 teams up, but not a huge shock, I don't think. But you're the Bruins. How long do you think he needs a camp before he gets into a game?
Well, it's interesting because at least with goaltenders, it's not like you need to find chemistry with line mates or anything like that. So the fact that they have Korpisalo, I'm assuming they're going to stick with their proclamation last week that Korpisalo is starting game 1. That way Swayman gets some practice time. But I can't imagine it's going to be too long until we see him, maybe as soon as game 2. And I would say you definitely want to get him in at least game 3 or 4.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to wait much longer. That Atlantic Division, Florida, Tampa, Boston, Toronto. If one of them was to slide out of the top 4 and Ottawa or Detroit or Buffalo moves in, who do you think is most likely to fall out of the top 4?
I think it might be Tampa Bay. If the Bruins had gone on any longer with Swayman at an impasse, I might have said Boston, but the Bruins culture, they just seem to find a way no matter who they lose. So at this point, they have to prove me wrong. With Tampa Bay, it's not that they're a bad team. They certainly have still some of the best players in the league with Kucherov and Hedman and Vasilevsky. There's just a lot of mileage on those guys, and Tampa Bay doesn't have the depth they once did. So that would be my concern, because if you think about even last year, I mean, Detroit, I think they were only 1 point out of a wild card spot. So they weren't very far behind Tampa Bay. And, injuries happen to crucial guys. You can never predict that. And as you mentioned, there's 3 different teams, and I too am looking for them to make that leap: Buffalo, Ottawa, and Detroit. So I think Tampa Bay is on the thinnest of ice. I don't think their window's completely closed, but this could be a year where if they go on a bad skid for a week or two, that could make the difference.
Where do you come out on the Ottawa Senators?
I think that they need to take another step, but I'm worried that at this point, we're not sure if they have the exact personnel they need. They have that great young core, but I think there's a big question. Do they have a true number one center? Because that's what you need for success in the NHL. And particularly, in that division alone, you've got Sasha Barkov, you've got Austin Matthews, you've got Braden Point. Even having Tage Thompson and Dylan Cousins in Buffalo, that's pretty decent. Is Tim Stützle a number one center, or is he ultimately better as a winger? Is Josh Norris a number one, or is he a number two? Is Shane Pinto maybe a 1B, or is he a 2? I think those guys need to prove that they can hit that other level, because if one of them can, then I think a lot of other things fall into place, right? Like with Linus Ullmark coming in net, they have much better goaltending than they did last year. With Jake Sanderson a year older, the defense core should be better. Now it's just a question of, can you hang with the big boys in your division, the big boys in your conference? And I think this is going to be the acid test for Ottawa. If it doesn't work this year, I mean, all those guys are in their prime, led by Brady Tkachuk. If it doesn't work this year, something has to change, because otherwise you're just kind of wasting those prime years.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Moving to the West, the Oilers, the Stars, Vancouver, Vegas, Colorado. Although I want to start in Colorado. Landeskog, they were hoping he would be ready. He doesn't look ready. What do you make of Colorado? They still got the big 3, but how much less of a factor do you think they are with the uncertainty to Landeskog, and also we don't know about Nichushkin yet?
Yeah, I think Colorado's start is going to be crucial, especially Georgiev in net, because it's been a bit of a roller coaster for him. I think, as you mentioned, the big 3, McKinnon, Makar, Rantanen, I think they can go a long way. And then, you've got guys like Devon Taves as well. It'd be nice to see Casey Middlestat continue to step up and maybe even play a bigger role. I think Colorado's fine for now. I think what will be very interesting to see is, what does their roster look like after Christmas, near the trade deadline? Do they get back Landeskog? Do they get back Nichushkin? If they don't, do they make a big trade? Because, again, you don't want to waste a year of McKinnon and Makar and Ranson when you could very well compete for a Stanley Cup again. So I think that's going to be the big thing to watch, is kind of like late winter, early spring, where the Avs are.
What do you make of the Oilers from far away?
I mean, they're going to be one of the best teams again. It's going to be very interesting to see how they handle the season, in the sense of, they know they don't need to win the division. Home ice would be great, but it's not necessary. I think they got to make sure everybody stays healthy. I think, losing Broberg in particular, I liked how he looked in the Stanley Cup. I covered that whole series. I thought he did a lot of good things. He was not a finished product, but he was heading in that direction. I think that's a tough loss for them. I'm very interested to see what Jeff Skinner can do. This is a guy, you talk about playoff droughts. It's been a rough career for Jeff Skinner. So at least he's basically guaranteed to play playoff games this year, which is nice for him. I think they're going to be in the mix. I think it's very difficult to go through the entire conference in the playoffs to get back to the Stanley Cup. And you think about how good the Oilers were last year, but then it also took 7 games to beat a Vancouver team that was on their third string goaltender. So luck is a great thing. Health is a great thing, but there are 2 things that you can't control.
Yeah, that's fair. I think winning the division and winning the West is massively important for Edmonton. They haven't had home ice past the first round since 1990, and just it's one extra flight every round to Vancouver, to Dallas, to Florida, and I just that becomes a little bit more taxing. Not to mention that now they did win Game 7 in Vancouver, but if Game 1 of the Cup final or Game 7 of the Cup finals on home ice, I just wonder how different that series might have gone. So I think Edmonton. So one thing. This team has their one consistency is they've had a lull every regular season, 8 games, 12 games, whatever. Last year was the first 12, so it got magnified even more, but it's happened every year. And I think for them this year, they need to avoid that lull, because if they do, then they could have home ice for a long time. And I think that would make a big difference.
Yeah, potentially. And, you think about that lull and you think about the slow start that Connor Brown had. And by the time they got to the playoffs, him and Janmark in particular, along with Adam Henrique, but I mean, Brown and Janmark on the penalty kill was just incredible. And Connor Brown is playing his best hockey of the year at the exact right time. So what does Connor Brown look like when he returns this year? Does he just pick up where he left off? Because that would be fantastic for the Oilers.
Yeah. Ryan, if you look, is there one surprise? I'm going to ask you a fun question. So I found this out in the NHL. In the last 10 years, every year except to 2019, there has been a team who missed the playoffs the previous year by 12 or more points and then made the playoffs. 12 or more, so significant. And if you look at the teams who missed the playoffs last year by 12 or more points, your options to see one of those, make the playoffs this year. That includes the Ottawa Senators in the East, the Montreal Canadiens, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Then in the West, you have Arizona or Utah now, Chicago, Calgary, Seattle, Anaheim, and San Jose. Out of those teams, which one do you give the best chance to continue that trend?
I'm going to take Utah. I think that the way that they restructured their defense core over the summer was massive. We were kind of joking at the draft when they made that Sergachev trade. We were like, who was on the blue line last year? Like, obviously J.J. Moser, because he was part of the deal, but it was like hard to name actual NHL players. And now you look at them, it's like you got Sergachev, you got Marino, Ian Cole comes in. It's like they got like a legitimate blue line core now, and their goaltending has always been very good. Well, I shouldn't say always, but lately it's been very good. And then the offense, I think, is improving. If Logan Cooley takes a big step, that'll be great for them. Clayton Keller gets the captaincy. I think that'll, motivate him even further. And you get a guy like Matias Michelli, who no one ever really talks about, but before he got injured, he was looking like he could have won the Calder Cup a couple of years ago. So I think Utah, not only are they a lot better on paper, but they're also in a situation where I could easily see only 3 teams in the Pacific make the playoffs. Edmonton would be obviously one of them, Vegas, and then Vancouver. I could see 5 in the Central, which makes Utah's path a little easier.
Yeah. All right. Good answer, buddy. I appreciate it, Ryan. Have a great day.
Will do. Thanks for having me.
There you go. That's Ryan Kennedy from the Hockey News. I love that stat from the NHL. So there's always a long shot every year in the last decade except one. So if that trend's going to continue, who do you think it would be? Columbus, Montreal, Ottawa in the East, or Utah, Chicago, Calgary, Seattle, Anaheim, San Jose? I don't mind Utah, Seattle, Actually, I don't mind Ottawa. Those would be my top three. But if I had to pick one, I do think the Drew Doughty injury opens a door more in the West. I might agree with you, Utah. I think they're going to be fired up. You know what? New owner is not going to spare any expenses. I think they're going to be back to feeling like they're NHL. Their home rink is an NHL rink. Lots of stuff, how they're treated is going to be lots more NHL related. They're not going to have an owner who doesn't want to pay his bills on the road. Like little things like that adds up. Trust me. Revamp their blue line. I don't mind that call. Them or Ottawa. Selfishly, I'm going to take Ottawa, of course, but Utah, I could see too. 241. We're going to hear from Chris Knobloch on some reasonings for the lineup change for the Edmonton Oilers. Looks like you might see Skinner and Janmark swapping lines. They were swapped today at practice. Janmark was up with Draisaitl and Arvidsson. Skinner was with Henrique and Brown. Knobloch feels that gives him more balanced scoring. 3 lines. And it's true. Jeff Skinner's like top 20 in 5-on-5 points the last 3 seasons in the NHL. Like the guy can produce 5-on-5. There's no doubt about it. Adam Henrique, pretty solid player himself. What is he? 8-time 20-goal scorer. So they got some offense there, no question. And you know what? You try different things. He did leave the door open that they could put Skinner back with Draisaitl tomorrow, which, he doesn't really do that as much, right? Woodcroft would sometimes run a line one day and then run a different line the next day. I think Knobloch did that once last year, if my memory is correct, but not very often. So we'll see. I do think you're going to see some different combinations at different times because Knobloch's not afraid, and he likes to have guys feeling comfortable because you never know in the playoffs. You might have to go with a combination. 833-401-1440 in our email inbox. It is Jason Gregor Show with Connor Halley, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. If you gamble, use your game sense. Go to gamesense.ab.ca.
Play, get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet every week all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
At Fountain Tire, we love jingles. Get up to 25% off select tires.
Until October 19th.
Plus a bonus $50 off any service of $150.
Restrictions apply.
Book online today. Fountain Tire. We're on this road together.
Ain't it beautiful? What does excellence mean to you, and how does it impact your decisions? Friends, it's Carrie Dahl, and I know that at Volvo Cars Edmonton, excellence isn't an option, it's their everything. From customer satisfaction in sales, service, inventory, and retention, they excel in all. Congratulations, Volvo Cars Edmonton, Canada's only 12-time Volvo Excellence Award winners.
Volvo of Edmonton. When it comes to your health, trust Dr. Bryce Henderson for expert care in hip and knee replacements. With years of experience and advanced techniques, Dr. Henderson helps you regain your mobility and quality of life.
Your health is my priority. Let's get you back to doing what you love.
Put your health in the hands of a trusted expert. Book your consultation with Dr. Henderson today. Visit vitalsurgicalspecialist.ca or call 587-391-7864.
Silent Ice Sports and Entertainment is an innovative market leader across Western Canada. With sports and entertainment properties including the Spruce Grove Saints, the Junior Prospects Hockey League, Silent Rides Charter Company, the Hockey Super League, and the newly launched Female Super League. Silent Ice also owns the Western Hockey League Seattle Thunderbirds and operates the Morinville AAA Arena. The Silent Ice Center, a new state-of-the-art entertainment facility, is open in Nisku, which features 2 sheets of ice, including a 1,600-seat arena and a restaurant with a viewing area.
Get ready to revolutionize your job site with Edmonton Kubota's game-changing compact construction equipment. From mini excavators and skid steers to track loaders, carriers, and utility vehicles, they have a model to fit every need, all powered by legendary Kubota diesel engines. These machines are built for performance and reliability. Transform your work with Edmonton Kubota's top-of-the-line compact equipment. Visit them today and see why they're the name you can trust for power and precision.
Noodle, noodle, nood, noodle, nood, noodle, nood. Oodle, noodle, nood. Noodle, noodle, nood, 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 nood. Oodle, noodle, nood. Oodle, nood. Noodle, noodle, nood, noodle, nood, noodle, nood. Oodle, noodle, nood. Noodle, noodle, nood, 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 nood. Oodle, noodle, nood.
Troll the load down to Oodle Noodle tonight because dine-in is open.
Ooh, 46. How are you? Welcome back, Jason Gregor. Connor Halley on Sports 1440, Orders Nation, YouTube and Facebook, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. Get in the game. Of course, a lot of max tomorrow. You have MLB, 2 games tonight, and then the NHL. And by the way, Orders still favored to win their division and the Western Conference. So get in on it at playalberta.ca. It is Monday morning, Monday afternoon, excuse me. And that means the 2-minute warning with Cam Tait, brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. Home with no payments, no interest for 1 year on your AC or furnace. You can bundle them together right now and save even more at legacyheating.ca. Of course, Cam Tait, longtime journalist in town. Cam's born with cerebral palsy. He's in a wheelchair. Has always wanted to be on radio, but unfortunately with his disability, that was not possible until we started up. And with voice box, it takes Cam's words and puts them into voice. Here's Cam Tait, 2-minute warning.
Thanks there, Jason. When I was called into the boss's office and read the riot act and more, because I didn't spell one but 2 names, the first and the last name, correct, of a dear, sweet senior citizen who was volunteering her time. In the Edmonton Journal, I left his office feeling pretty terrible. I made a big mistake. There wasn't a group of fellow reporters clapping, cheering, and slapping me on the back, and then taking me out to celebrate. Likewise, when I came in, last at the Tait family Monopoly party, my folks did not get on the phone to call all the relatives in Meota, Saskatchewan to plan a chicken supper in my honor. Of course, I could go on and on because I've made some big mistakes, giant and in my life. Just ask Jason or Connor. But we don't celebrate them, or do we? Thought about that. Saturday night, waiting on the Commonwealth Stadium's southwest side, watching the fireworks. Impressive fireworks, at that too, minutes after the gun sounded to end the football game. But here's what I don't get. Still don't, the Edmonton Elks. They didn't win. They got beat. Perhaps this is worth repeating. The Elks didn't win. They got beat by the Saskatchewan Roughriders. If you're scoring at home 28-24 to the Saskies, the Elks could have puckered up, big time, to kiss any playoff action. Bye-bye, and we have fireworks. Really? I mean, really? Oh, sure, and I understand. Fan experience is important. Fireworks have to be scripted like they were Saturday. And I also understand kids, young people, future Elks ticket holders, like fireworks. It's a nice way to end a night. I honestly believe professional teams need to form a culture of winning for their customers and have mechanisms in place if their team wins. I also firmly believe when celebrations such as fireworks are set off after a loss, it could send a message. The Elks aren't really taking things too serious. Now more than ever, the Edmonton Elks cannot afford such an image. The 2-minute warning with Cam Tait. Monday, Friday. Jason Gregor Show, Sports. 1440.
Interesting point from Tater. Cons, what do you make of that?
I like fireworks. I mean,
but it says if you lose and you're knocked out of the playoffs, is that the night to play fireworks?
I guess you still want to put on a show for the people. I get exactly what Cam's saying. I mean, what are you celebrating here, right? They probably bought him. They said they're firing him off. I'm okay with that. I don't mind a good fireworks show personally.
But if you bought them, it's not like they go bad. Couldn't you have just saved them and for your final game?
Maybe you want to make sure you go through them. So
you think they bought enough for both games?
Yeah, like the quota. You got to go through them. If you don't use them, you lose them type thing. Well, last year you guys only spent $2,000 on fireworks. You got to make sure you're running through them all. So for next year you have that budget when you're winning games. Hopefully.
Yeah.
You ever bought fireworks in long time? You grew up in the country. You had to, right?
Yeah. Interesting move today for the Oilers. They've recalled Matt Savoie. Now, here's the thing. What did I mention? I mentioned it earlier in Low Tide Show. Matt Savoie, does this mean the Oilers are going to go into LTIR? I wonder. It's because it makes all the sense in the world for Matt Savoie to play big minutes in the American League. And that's what I fully expect him to be. But here's the thing. So if they and I got to double check here. Let's find this. Yes. So they've signed Cameron Wright to a 1-year, 2-way contract. Right. So good for him. He was on an American League only deal. Now he gets a 2-way deal. And they've recalled forward Matt Savoie from Bakersfield. So and I wonder, Savoie, if he's up now, that's fine. I'm trying to figure out what this move is, because I think they want him to play a lot of minutes in the American League. Right? Like he was down, one of the first guys sent down. To me, if Savoie is on your roster and then you're going to go into LTIR, you want him on the roster for a day, because then there's benefits from it. Right? So watch for that. This might just be one of those moves where they make the move and then, but he's not here that long. So just keep that in mind of the Matt Savoie. This could have some salary cap implications more than anything else, because if you're not going to keep Philp up here to play, you're not going to do the same with Savoie. And Savoie's like Arvidsson and Hyman. Now, I watched all the practice. They were out there in every drill and they didn't get injured. I didn't see anything. Right? Same with Connor Brown. So I don't see a spot there. So I wonder if this is salary cap related. We'll have to dig into that a little bit. But that just coming down here for the Edmonton Oilers. Interesting. Hey, guys, doesn't have to do with his bonus counting this year and not next year. Now, that's a good question. But I thought it only matters if you're in LTIR, not if it's just on regular. But I could be wrong. I haven't studied every one on the bonus. But I know that if a player's on your roster and then you go into LTIR, now, then you could do it. So as long as he's on your roster, then you go into LTIR. Then when he's recalled, he only counts for his base salary, not his cap hit, that is. You'd still have to pay him his bonuses if he made it, but it doesn't count against your cap hit for that year. It's kind of a weird rule. Remember they did that with Broberg and a few other guys a few years ago, but they were in LTI. So does this mean the Oilers have another move coming? I wonder. So the salary cap is something you always have to watch for. And that plays a factor into some of the decisions now. So we'll see. We will see. 833-401-1440. Hey, Gregor, what about Cameron Wright? Is this guy got a chance? Oh, man, it's a 2-way deal. Good for him. You know what? I think that's a case of, hey, you keep depth guys in your organization just in case. And you know what? He is, what is he, 26, I think it is. He's played 1 year in the American League after a year in the ECHL. He might be a late developer, So I would put him as probably a low-end chance, but I'm never going to rule a guy out at all. Why not? Hey, guys, the amount of drafted and developed players the Oilers lost this summer alone takes years to rebuild. Our prospects pool is worse than the Penguins. We haven't even won a cup yet. It's embarrassing. From Christian. So you're talking about Holloway, Broberg, and Lavoie, right? Those main three. So they've replaced Holloway, Lavoie, and Broberg with Savoie, Emberson, and Järventie. Right now, I got us. How many years older is Emberson to Broberg? Is it 1? I think it's 1. Let me double check. So he's 24. Yeah, and Broberg's 23. So 1 year. So not a huge difference in age, right? Is that fair? So Broberg, Emberson, Järventie, Lavoie. Järventie's actually played more NHL games. And then Savoie, Holloway. Holloway's obviously more of an NHL guy. Savoie's a higher pick, but he's potential down the road. So they get a little bit younger, right? Holloway is probably more of an NHL. Well, I think he's an NHL player. So those 3 to 3, it's a good question if they downgraded overall. Different skill sets for sure. I would argue, though, when healthy, I think Järventie might be better than Raphael Lavoie. That's the one. But then the other ones, I think you could say Broberg right now for sure. Emberson probably not going to have the offensive upside of a Philip Broberg. More of a defensive player. And, Matt Savoie, I think he has more of a high ceiling, but Holloway has a higher floor. Does that make any sense? Like Holloway's an NHL player. We don't know yet if Savoie's an NHL player. But it's a fair point. I think it's a fair point. Also, Podkolzin, I guess can't forget him, right? So throw in Podkolzin too. So it's kind of been they switched them out really. Because then I go, so yeah, you trade in Bourgault there. So then you say Podkolzin, Savoie, Järventie, Emberson for Broberg, Holloway, Bourgault, and Lavoie. If you made that 4-for-4 trade, how would you view it as a win? Interesting. 2:57. Sean Brown is going to join us. We'll hear more from Chris Knobloch. Also, Leon Draisaitl. Some interesting comments from the associate captain of the Edmonton Oilers. We'll try to get in the exact specifics for the Savoie recall. I think it's cap related. I just want to find out exactly what the exact part of the cap related is. Let's get to the con man and a sports 1440 update. Brought to you by Booster Juice. They are celebrating 25 years. And this huge milestone, they're bringing back some of your favorites. The original, the Marathon, and the very popular Orange Sickle. Download the Booster Reward app and order one today, only at Booster Juice.
The Sports 1440 update.
The Edmonton Oilers have recalled Matt Savoie from the Condors. Savoie, of course, was acquired from the Sabres for Ryan McLeod and Tyler Tullio. The team also signed Cam Wright to a 1-year, 2-way contract. Wright appeared in 48 games last season with the Condors, recording 21 points in 48 games. The Vegas Golden Knights claimed center Raphael Lavoie from the Oilers earlier today. He was drafted by the squad back in 2019 in the second round, appearing in just 7 games for the Oil, recording 0 points. The team also claimed winger Cole Schwindt from the Calgary Flames. Veteran goaltender James Reimer was claimed off waivers by the Anaheim Ducks after spending time in Buffalo's camp. Zach Aston Reese was claimed by the Blue Jackets after spending last season in the Red Wings organization. And the Vancouver Canucks claimed goaltender Yuri Patera off waivers from the Bruins, who picked him up last month. The Toronto Leafs signed forwards Max Pacioretty and Steven Lorentz to 1-year contracts. Also signed defenseman Cade Weber to a contract extension. Week 5 in the NFL wraps up tonight as the Chiefs host the Saints. Kickoff in that one set for 6:15. We got 2 games in the Major League Baseball playoffs. Top of the 4th, Guardians and Tigers are scoreless. Cleveland leads that series 1-0. At 5:38 tonight, the Yankees host the Royals, leading 1-0 there. And NBA preseason, the New Zealand Breakers take on the Sixers at 5. You also have the Mavs, Grizz, the Thunder in San Antonio, and the Jazz host the Rockets. Earlier today, Pelicans got past the Magic 106-104. Coming up in hour 2 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll be joined by former NHLer Sean Brown and Dalton Wasserman of Pro Football Focus. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440, a Stingray radio station broadcasting on Treaty 6 territory.
Download the free iHeartRadio app and listen to CKJR wherever you go.
Gateway Toyota treats us like we're precious gems.
Because that's what we are.
Every vehicle purchased from Gateway Toyota includes enrollment into their GEM program. It stands for Gateway Exclusive Membership.
And it gives you 5-year access to over $2,500 in benefits.
Free oil changes.
Free tire and windshield repair.
Free car washes.
Even an annual detailing.
You'll also get special discounts, trade-in bonuses, and referral rewards.
I feel like a gem.
At Gateway Toyota, just off Calgary Trail at Ellerslie Road.
Carve out for a cause at the 6th annual Jason Gregor Pizza Takeout presented by Swift. Thursday, October 24th at the Canadian Ice House. Indulge in unlimited pizza while raising some dough for Kids Sport. Vote for your favorite slice to crown the People's Choice Awards winners. Don't miss Edmonton's biggest pizza party with Gregor broadcasting live. Tickets are $60 or $200 for a group of 4. Adults only. Buy your tickets today. For more details, see jasongregorpizzapigout.com.
Hey, sports fans, we've got a clear choice for you. At Crystal Glass, we provide customers with the perfect glass for any job. From home to auto and even commercial, installation or repairs, we're your team. Call 310 Glass or visit crystalglass.ca. Crystal Glass.
Japa Machinery Group knows that XCMG may not roll off the tongue, but Japa's team will help keep your construction jobs rolling on time and on budget with heavy equipment sales and rentals. Visit japamachinery.com to find out more.
Michelle and Colette are sisters. Sisters who don't agree on much, especially when it comes to which hockey team is the best.
Edmonton is the best, baby. Vancouver's number 1.
Even when it comes to meat snacks from Wilhawks.
I love the Herrenschwiener. The ham sausage rules.
But they will agree
Wilhawk beef jerky is the best.
it might just be the only thing Alberta hockey fans can agree on.
Pick up some Wilhawk beef jerky today because you don't win friends with salad.
Often when I meet people at a party or I'm hanging out at my favorite restaurants, I'll introduce myself and they'll say, "Oh, you're Grant Fedoruk from Leading Edge Physio. What can I do about this sore knee? It's been bugging me for months." First, I was thinking, when I'm out like this, I should just tweet my location so people know where to come for a consultation. But then I thought, I'm spending all this money on advertising Leading Edge. Maybe you could come by one of our clinics. That's where we have the technology and really smart physiotherapists who can give you all the advice and treatment you need. Have your people call my people, leadingedgephysio.com.
You'll see us digging holes. No, we're not looking for buried treasure. You'll see us digging trenches as well. And no, we're not building a fort. We're GS Construction, and you'll see us in neighborhoods throughout the Edmonton area. So what are we doing? GS Construction provides rehabilitation and upgrade services to Edmonton and surrounding communities. Some of our underground utilities have served us for years and are past their useful lives. We replace them, so they're around for years to come. Find out more at gsconstruction.ca.
Hey, you hear about this new burger place? Heard about it? I've been to it. The Varsity? Yeah, the Varsity. This is the one at White Mud Crossing, right? Right. This is the one with those incredible burgers, right? Correctamundo. This is the one with the unlimited steak fries? Yeah, that's the Varsity, bro. Unlimited steak fries? And they're so good. We gotta go. Like now.
Come to the Varsity for 100% all beef, chef-inspired burgers that are never frozen and cooked fresh. Each served with an unlimited portion of those amazing steak fries. The Varsity Kitchen Bar Burgers.
Hey, it's Scott from Sherwood and St. Albert Dodge. I think it's safe to say we are all paying attention to interest rates these days. If so, you'll like this. We have 0% financing available on Jeep Compass, Wrangler, Grand Cherokee, and Wagoneer. 0% on the Dodge Durango and the all-new Hornet. And the rates on Ram 1500, Ram 2500, and Ram 3500, you guessed it, 0%. Are you picking up the theme? We have 0% financing on virtually all 2024 new models with hundreds to choose from. Why pay interest? Instead, come get a new vehicle at St. Albert and Sherwood Dodge.
.305. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley with you on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook. And as always, the Gregor Show is presented by PlayAlberta.ca. Get in the game. All the NHL action begins tomorrow. Technically started on the weekend, but early games as New Jersey and Buffalo played at 11 a.m. and 10 a.m. But they are... There we go. Had some reverberation here going. That's all fixed up. But now they're ready to go. So we welcome to the show former NHLer, first-round draft pick, AJHL coach and GM, and now our regular Monday co-host, Sean Brown, joins us. Brownie, how you doing? How's the weekend, buddy?
Good. What a weekend. What just beautiful weather. Just loving it right now. Lots to do around the house. Sorry about that. I moved. Yeah, got lots of stuff done around the house. You?
I'm just playing video guy here. You know what? Yeah, we had that was nice outside. Did get the trees ready for winter, watering some, which is a super easy job. I'm like, I'll sign up for that one all day long. Basically, got to turn the hose on, big tree, and then even the small ones, you just like time it, right? Your phone goes off every 4 minutes, and switch it, right? You put it on a nice little soaker, and away you go. So it was easy. Went for a few walks. It's nice out. Yeah, it was perfect. Fall. Today's going to be great. I think it's getting up to 19 or 20 degrees. So let's live it up while we can. I'll just say this in advance. I hope that in 24 days, it's this nice out for the trick-or-treaters. So, because I love Halloween, but I love seeing all the costumes for the kids. I like to hunker down on the front porch and hand out all the candy. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of it.
Oh, I love it. There's nothing more disappointing when the weather's cold and now the kids are all bundled up. You can't even see them in their outfits and stuff like that. So, yeah, when it's nice, it's exciting.
Now, lots to discuss here. MLB playoffs, unreal. The NFL weekend was crazy. CFL disappointing as the Elks are officially eliminated. Their odds of making it were pretty low anyway, especially when you start 0-7. But they gave themselves a little bit of hope and then came back down to earth, and now we'll play out the string for 2 games. The Oilers wrap up the preseason. Chris Knobloch today unveils Skinner and Janmark on different lines. He outlined that, a lot of reasons why he switched them. He just says, hey, they might be back tomorrow. Although knowing Knobloch, I don't think so. That he felt like, for 2 games, and it's only like Leon said, he goes, it's really hard to tell if we have chemistry. We played 2 games together. So if he takes Skinner off of there, does it matter to you early on? I wonder if it's just a little bit of a message. I didn't really notice Jeff Skinner much. But there's lots of guys I didn't really notice, if we're being honest here. Yeah. So what do you make of this whole thing? Like, I'm not saying it's a big deal by any stretch. I'm just curious what you think of it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's an overly big deal. I mean, I would think that he would have hoped to have had a little bit better of a preseason, but he is a veteran. I don't think it's anything that you have to worry about. I think that, throughout the season, of course, there's going to be a lot of movement. I don't think that maybe we were expecting it so early. I don't think the coach is necessarily sending, a serious message. I think there's an opportunity with the skill and the depth that they have in those first 3 lines to kind of move guys around. I think it makes sense. I mean, Janmark is coming off of a great playoff run, and when you look at what he brings to the Oilers as far as his tenacity and keeping pucks alive and getting in on the forecheck and being able to get pucks to Draisaitl. And, I think he could be a good fit there. So I wouldn't look into it as anything, anything major. I think you got a coach right now that's pushed a lot of buttons last year, a lot of the right buttons, and he's coaching right now. And, so it'll be interesting to see how Skinner, responds. But, I think when you look at that line, Skinner, Henrique, and Brown, that's a pretty, it's a pretty dangerous line. I actually like the look of it because you got, a couple guys that are going to work hard, and now you got a guy that, when he gets the puck on a stick, has some offensive ability. So it's, 3. I think all 3 lines still look good.
Yeah, like the orders, like Adam Henrique, if him and Skinner are on a 3rd line, and I agreed with Knobloch. He says it's more of a scoring line than it is a real defensive shutdown line. But McDavid and Draisaitl are going to take most of the tough minutes anyway. Like, let's be real here. Now, the advantage is at home, if you'd like, you can have a game where you say, hey, we'll take away some of the minutes and put Henrique's line out there as in more of a checking role. But not very often. And if I look at Winnipeg's lineup, that they try to get Lowry out against McDavid as much as they can, right? Now, Knobloch doesn't shy away from it. So it's more so, does he want the Draisaitl line? What does he want to do? mix and match. I think we will see some line movement from, game to game, depending on who they play. And I won't be surprised if Skinner plays on the third line for one game. But when they go against Chicago and Calgary and Philly, they load up their top two lines because Philly and those three teams cannot come close to competing with them.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, you look at just the options that he has, right?
Yeah.
By acquiring Skinner just gives, the coach a ton of options and uncertainty for other teams when they're coming in and line matching against the Oilers. And I think that when you look at all the ability of all three lines and the guys and how they play and when they're on their game, they all add a dimension that's tough to play against. And so that's exactly what you want. You want a team that's can throw lots of different looks at you. And the fact that Skinner's an NHL player, a veteran NHL player, right? This isn't something that's going to throw him off as if it was someone a little bit younger, a little bit less experienced. He's going to be able to handle, this type of movement. And, it's going to be good. It's good for the Oilers that the fact that they have these different looks. And, that's one thing I'm looking forward to seeing, as I touched on it earlier, Knobloch pushed a lot of the right buttons last year. And I'm really curious to see now from the beginning, the types of buttons he pushes and how he coaches and gets the best out of this lineup.
Now, you played preseason, you played regular season. For a veteran-laden team where the majority of them went to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final last year, obviously there's some new guys who didn't, right? Emberson wasn't here last year. Stetcher didn't play in the playoffs due to the cyst. Skinner, of course. Arvidsson wasn't here last year. Put Coles in. So some guys.
Yeah.
But the majority of the core was. I'm not saying you can just... Is it easy, though, to kind of flick the regular season switch? I don't think you can do it from regular season to playoffs. But like the preseason intensity, everything about it is not close to the regular season. Do you think there's any carryover at all? You played many times. Like I find... I've studied it. I've looked at teams who had good preseasons, weren't very good in the regular season. And the problem is those teams and the lineups you have in the preseason, good or bad, win or loss, are rarely close to what your regular season lineup is. So I'm not sure. Like I've learned, I take less and less from the preseason as I go. How did you as a player do it?
Well, I think everyone is affected by preseason differently. Like McDavid's not coming there, worrying about making the Edmonton Oilers. Sean Brown coming to camp has to have, his A game,
right?
Because he's being judged in preseason. I always think that, whenever you're on the ice, whether it's preseason or practice or you're around the rink, you're constantly being evaluated on, your performance, how you're handling yourself on and off the ice with your habits and your preparation. So for me, it was just from the moment I got to training camp, I was on and had to be on, and there was no guarantee of the next day. So, I like preseason. I think that you can see a lot in preseason. I did, have the opportunity to go to a few games, and what I wanted to see in preseason was just what, why certain guys were there and what skill set they had to offer. Right. I don't think that, when you watch McDavid in preseason, obviously, when he had the puck, him and Draisaitl do their, they work their magic, and you can see the skill and the ability, and you could see with, a young Savoy, you could see the skill. He was young. He needs to get a little bit of, some more experience and a little bit of size and maturity, but you could see the skill and the reason why they traded for him and the reason why everyone's so excited about him. So you look for that in other guys' games like Podkolzin. You could see as, I felt as the preseason went on, he started feeling a little bit more comfortable getting in there, playing with a little bit more grit. But it definitely, I would never downplay the preseason, because I think you got to get your touches. You got to more than anything mentally, you got to get into the rhythm, into the mindset of what the game. This is a hard game. It's a really hard league to play in. It's not. It's a grind, right? And it takes you 2 or 3 weeks at the end of the season to kind of decompress and get out of that routine and rhythm. But you also need to use preseason, to get yourself calloused and hard and to get ready, mentally. It's more mental than anything, right? It's just getting into that mindset, the preparation and the habits and, your routine of what allows you to perform at an NHL level.
Yeah. And I think it's easier for a veteran-laden group and a highly skilled group to be like, okay, you know what? We didn't have our game there. It's, it's Friday in Vancouver. It's the last preseason game. And I watched that game. There was lots of guys that weren't really doing much, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
But like their top 6 forwards, lots of them are just like, let's just not get hurt.
Yeah.
That's kind of, and I know that sometimes, I'm not saying they thought that way, but they weren't
looked like they played that.
They weren't going as hard as they can go, right? And I think on Wednesday night, McDavid will be Mach 50, like he normally is, right? I won't be surprised to see
You don't
that.
worry about the guys you don't worry about are McDavid, Draisaitl, the elite guys.
Yeah.
They're the least of your concern.
Yeah. So that's why I'm not overly concerned at all about the preseason, especially with their schedule maker. If they can beat Winnipeg, they could easily be 4-0 because their next 3 games are against teams who all missed the playoffs last year, and everybody's expecting them to miss the playoffs this year.
There's really no guarantees. Like,
no, there's no guarantee.
Yeah, I don't. There's not a switch. I think that you're building. Early in the preseason, I think you're getting your touches in your feel. But I think your last couple of games, you're trying to get as close as you can mentally in that mindset and frame to what it's going to be like and what the season's going to be like. Because when it starts and everything gets real, it gets real fast, and you got to be ready. So it's not. I don't. Whether you're a rookie or you're a veteran, I think as a veteran, you kind of have some experience, but I don't think you can downplay the importance of making sure, you're getting yourself, uncomfortable, because this league is a very uncomfortable, hard league to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah. So Matt Savoy was recalled today, but this is all for salary cap reasons, right? It just gives them more LTIR room. And so because if he's on your roster before you go into LTIR, then if you recall him later in the year, he only counts for his base salary, which would be $866 or $886,000. But if he wasn't, then because he has his bonuses would count against him as a cap. So that's why they're doing it. So he'll be recalled. Probably skate tomorrow, maybe.
Oh, he actually comes.
Well, nowadays they don't want just paper shuffles. So
okay,
yeah, it's not an ideal time for Matt Savoy, right? You jump on a plane, you fly. Now, here's the thing: will he actually? I don't know, but I do know that the NHL kind of maybe they'll be like, okay, whatever. But usually, no, they don't like it if it's just a paper transaction without the player actually moving.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I know they did this 2 years ago where they had a guy literally get out, flew back home. I think it was 2 years ago. It might have been Vinny Desharnais. So I think I remember him telling me. So it's happened before.
I remember Josh Green towards the end of his career. He got a lot of miles there where he was getting called up, sent down. And, it was very similar trying to fit into a cap system. And I know talking to him, it was a little bit of a grind because traveling is not easy. It's not fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not fun at all. So, you come up, he'll probably get to stay in his parents' house. That's the good news for him, right? Get another home
for him. Yeah. For him, it's not so bad coming home.
All right. Get to come in. Hey, mom, dad, what's happening? Right. Get to have dinner before. And it's not like he's missing any AHL time. There's not going to miss any games, but so it's a small, it's a small burden to say, because if I'm Matt Savoy, I look and say, okay, I understand why they're doing this. Like if I'm a young 20-year-old, and they explain, okay, so you're getting recalled, but you're going to go back down the next day. I said, but this is why we do it. So later in the year, we can recall you when you're only an 886 cap instead of 1.86, because that could be the difference. We might not be able to recall you later in the year. And the guy's like, so you're telling me all I got to do is this, and it improves my chances of being up here? Sign me up.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. If there's one guy that would love to be coming up, it's the NHL, whether it was a transaction or however you want to spin it, you're getting called up to the NHL, right? You're the first call. So I'm sure he has absolutely no problem coming.
Yeah, no, not at all. So there you go. So it gives him it saves him some money if it works. So there you have it. 833-401-1440. Hey boys, I have no doubt McDavid's going to start fast. I read Gregor's article a while ago saying he needs 18 points in his first 8 games to become the third fastest to 1,000 points. Actually, I think it's 18 in his first 10 games. Well, not I think, I know. Because he's played 645 games. Mike Bossy reached 1,000 points in his 656th game. So it's 11 games to tie for third, or 10 or fewer to outright beat him. Now, where 8 games comes in was I wrote in the article that his 8th game of the season is against the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Oh, wow.
On the Oilers Hall of Fame night. So a guy who has a tendency to rise to the occasion in the big moments. I'm just saying it could be an interesting night where McDavid gets 0.1000. And it's unbelievable. You look, he's going to be the third fastest. He's going to get to 700 assists in 100 fewer games than Sidney Crosby. Like, that's how dominant. Like, that's a big difference, man.
And it's just amazing in today's game on, how well these guys are coached. There's no secrets, right? Everyone knows there's video. The guys are preparing. That's what amazes me is that, he does it in today's game with the technology and all the information that other teams have to use against them. And he's still able to play and do the things that he's doing. It's just, it's obviously quite expensive to go to an NHL hockey game. And, I'd probably be pretty selective if, I had to buy a ticket and which games I went to. But if there's ever someone that is worth the admission, it's that guy. Like, just when he gets on the ice and the level of compete and skill against other top NHL players is just incredible.
Yeah. Jason Gregor, Sean Brown, here on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook. Quick break. We'll return. We are going to talk some more hockey. Of course, there's lots of hockey talk going on right now. It's a fantastic time of the year. Also, a little baseball, some football. It's quite the weekend, south and north of the border, depending which league you're watching, or maybe you watch both, as you should. Both are great. Well, Dalton Wasserman will join us next on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Hey, it's Kevin Carius. Looking for a truck? Looking for a deal? Then head over to St. Albert Dodge. Right now, save up to $20,000 on 2024 Ram 1500 DT model trucks, including the Sport, the Rebel, Laramie, and Limited Line. It's been a long time since we've seen anything like that. And if you need one more reason to buy, remember that the 2024 Ram 1500 models are the last year of production, featuring the legendary Hemi V8. Head up the trail to see how easy it is to do business at St. Albert Dodge.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta? New players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet. Every week, all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
In 1973, deep in the basement of an Edmonton family home, an elite team of specialized forces came together to form Action Electrical.
Action Electrical Divisions, assemble!
Projects team reporting.
Service team reporting.
Testing team reporting.
Energy team reporting.
Supercharged with skills in their electrical fields and grounded by strong family values. Facing an electrical menace? Call on the men and women of Action. Operating throughout Alberta at actionelectrical.net.
Nuges Nuggets.
This is Nuges Nuggets, brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. What nugget of heating and cooling advice does Nuge have today?
You can save a lot of money by bundling your new furnace and AC with Legacy. It's kind of like saving money on an endorsement by bundling me, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, with someone like, Zachary Martin Hyman.
Thanks for suggesting me, Nuge. Get no payments and no interest for 1 year on your new AC and furnace from Legacy Heating and Cooling. Proud sponsor of
Nuges Nuggets.
Find the perfect tractor for any job at Edmonton Kubota. Their massive selection of compact tractors has something for everyone, whether you're tackling small tasks or big projects. And right now, take advantage of 0% financing for up to 72 months. It's never been easier to get the power and reliability you need. Come down to Edmonton Kubota today and drive away with a tractor that's just right for you. Edmonton Kubota, where your perfect tractor awaits.
Edmonton's premium live music and party venue is
On the Rocks.
Check out Bingo Tunes on Monday. Perform on the best stage in town with karaoke on Wednesdays. Learn how to salsa with Salsa Rocks on Thursdays. And every weekend, OTR goes live.
With your favorite bands on the OTR stage and DJ Kenny K.
For everything that's going on at On the Rocks, give us a follow.
Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter.
At On the Rocks, EDM.
Eat well, party hard.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks. Open every day till 2 a.m.
Need a truck? Want a great deal on a truck? Get into Wolf GMC Buick. It's GMC's Canada-wide clearance. Take advantage of 0% financing on Sierra half-tons. Oh, and guess what? GMC employee pricing is back on all in-stock 2024 Sierra HDs and Yukons. That means thousands of dollars in savings on GMC Sierra 3/4 ton and 1 ton. Also thousands off the industry-leading SUV, the GMC Yukon. Get to Wolf GMC Buick now and drive away with money off and a smile on. Just off the Anthony Henday.
Ain't it beautiful? The inventory is unprecedented. Volvo Cars Edmonton is proud to boast an amazing selection of in-stock Volvo XC40s, 60s, and 90s. Visit Volvo Cars Edmonton today and experience the exemplary service you've come to expect and the affordable luxury only found with Volvo Cars Edmonton, Canada's only 12-time Volvo Excellence Award winners. Experience the difference.
Volvo of Edmonton.
.327. The Winnipeg Jets just announced their opening day roster. Of course, the Oilers taking on the Jets on Wednesday. Logan Stanley is on IR to start the season. Inola is on the injured non-roster. He's banged up. Defenseman Elias Samuelson and forward Jared Anderson-Dolan have been assigned to the Manitoba Moose in the AHL. So there you have it. And Kakinen. Right now, it looks like they're going to start with 3 goalies. Kakinen, Comrie, and, of course, Connor Halley. Interesting. There are obviously some teams there. They're worried about losing guys to waivers. So there you go. Let's get to Football Report brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. Home to no payments, no interest for 1 year on your AC unit. Stay cool in the summer or warm all winter. You can get it both right now at legacyheating.ca. As it was quite the weekend in the National Football League. There were some great comebacks. There were some huge performances. Offense seems to have woken up across the National Football League as Dalton Wasserman from Pro Football Focus joins us. And Dalton, I saw a few people saying how September is the new August in the NFL. They barely play their starters. There's a little bit of rust. Defenses had the advantage. Lots of passing touchdowns were down significantly through week 4, but there was an offensive explosion across the league in week 5. Were you expecting it?
I mean, it was bound to swing back around eventually, right? You mentioned it with not a lot of teams playing their starters and their starting quarterbacks, especially in the preseason, but there were too many big-name quarterbacks that had kind of slept through the first few weeks, right? When you talk about maybe a Joe Burrow and a Trevor Lawrence, like these are some of the guys that we know are some of the elite passers in the game. So I do think they are finding their rhythm. And you have a lot of teams, look, it takes a few weeks, maybe 5, 6, even 7 weeks for teams to find their identity, right? And they always say that when teams haven't practiced much and they haven't played preseason games and things like that, defenses are always ahead. So it's definitely swinging back, and I think you just have more quarterbacks, especially playing to their true talent level.
So let's start with a few of them. Man, it was a hell of a game. The Bengals and the Ravens. And, I think maybe the most head-scratching decision was in overtime after Joe Burrow had just been passing the ball and lighting up the secondary all day long. They decided to try to run the ball 3 times in overtime. Didn't get the field goal. Then they turned over and, not turn it over, but the Ravens get it back and they win the game. What did you make of the decision and the play calling by the Bengals in overtime?
Certainly too conservative, because I think there's 2 things that I'm not a fan of in late game situations. One is when you just settle for long field goals. And I know kickers are freakier than ever, and they make all these 50-plus yarders look easy. But sometimes it feels like you settle for 53, 55 yarders, and you just kind of feel content with it. Feels like in those scenarios, something always goes wrong. And the other thing, too, is, look, live and die with your best players, right? And especially in a game like that when the Bengals really hadn't run the ball well all day. So I'm not sure why they thought it was going to work in that scenario against Roquan Smith and that Ravens front. They only ran for 72 yards the entire day anyway. I would just think you would want, if you're going to go down, not even go down, but if you're trying to even win the game, go swinging, man. You have Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. You got to live and die in your biggest games and the biggest moments with your best players. So it was a head scratcher to see suddenly them. The Bengals obviously aren't known for running the ball, turning to what's something that, that's considered a weakness in your biggest moment. Maybe if your entire season is a bit head scratching.
Dalton, with Khalil Shakir out for the Bills, it looked like Josh Allen struggled a little bit. Like, can the Bills contend without a true number one?
It's tough. And this was a game that, you would make the argument maybe they can't, because Shakir actually, what happened in this Texans game, Khalil Shakir is their best receiver against man coverage. And with him being out, the Texans played a lot more man coverage and they got a really good group of corners. They put their guys in one-on-one situations and they won the battle. So obviously Josh Allen with a rough stat line, he only went 9 for 30 through the air, which is obviously subpar. He had a rough day. The receivers just were not getting open at all either. So it's really the entire passing game and what they've put out over the last 2 weeks. It's not as explosive as it was the first 3 weeks. Obviously, they're playing better defenses, but they need to figure it out. They either need to scheme these guys open. They need Shakir healthy. They need every weapon they can get. But it is an offense based on distributing the ball around. But sometimes you just have to win one-on-one matchups. In the last 2 weeks, the Bills have not done that.
Dalton Wasserman joins us. The Jacksonville Jaguars had an awful September. Their offense looked terrible. Now, I know it's only one game, but what did you make of the Jags offensively? And do you think it's a one-off, or maybe you saw enough that thinks, okay, their offense seems to have a pulse?
I think what they have in this game, at least that, they have one game of tape of how their offense is supposed to work and what was happening in the first 4 games. Okay. And the Colts are not a great defense right now, so it's a good game to get right. But the first 4 games, they were taking way too many shots downfield. They were trying to hit home runs way too often, not setting up first downs, not moving the chains. This was the first game where they actually manufactured offense. Trevor Lawrence only threw 3 deep balls the entire game, past 20 yards in the air downfield, completed 2 of them. They did a better job running the ball, getting Christian Kirk involved, and then setting up the big plays to somebody like Brian Thomas Jr. This is what the Jaguars should have been doing the entire time. Now, we'll see if they do it against, somebody better than a Colts defense that's playing really poorly right now and got no pass rush on Trevor Lawrence. But I think they put the blueprint on tape, and maybe if they can sustain this level of play and just the strategy of, like, look, get first downs first, then hit your home runs when they're available, because they have a lot of really talented weapons, and Brian Thomas Jr. especially is coming on. I think if they can continue this sort of game plan and play a little bit better defense, there might be a little more optimism surrounding Jacksonville.
A few other teams, we'll get to the Monday Nighter in a second, Dalton, but the tight end play to the first month was very limited. But we saw some guys, start to get more involved offensively. Green Bay, amongst some other teams. Even Mr. Pitts in Atlanta had, I think, 7 catches for 88 yards or 7 for 70. I can't remember what it was. Either way, like both, they're involved. Do you see maybe the resurgence of the tight end moving forward?
I think so. I think when you have some of these teams that, again, are trying to hit too many home runs, because like take Jacksonville, they're not the only one. I think tight ends are arguably the biggest mismatch on the field a lot of times, right? Because you're covering them with linebackers and safeties, and they're the guys working that intermediate range. So I think you absolutely see it. I think about a guy like the Cardinals with Trey McBride, right? A very important piece of their win over the 49ers. These are guys that can create mismatches, right? And they can, when you got these teams sitting in these deep zones, they can work in that 10 to 15-yard range and make a lot of plays. So it all goes together. Again, we need more teams, if they want offense to be successful, you need more teams to start setting it up with first downs. And tight ends, look, that's what they often talk about, right? They're the safety blanket. They're the guys who move the chain. So you saw it with, even though they lost Pat Freiermuth with the Steelers when they had nothing else going, I think it's a thing that more teams are going to lean on just to create those mismatches that they need.
You look at the Monday nighter tonight, and, the Kansas City Chiefs have been decimated by injuries. The Saints had got off to a good start and then kind of stubbed their toe. What do you make of tonight's game? What are you expecting to see?
This game comes down to who can create enough explosive plays, especially on deep shots, right? So when the Saints won their first two games, they were hitting deep balls to Rashid Shaheed, and everything else was getting set up from there in the run game and backing off safeties. So, and then their last two games, the Saints have hardly completed any deep balls. I believe, actually, I don't know that they completed a single one last week, maybe one. The Saints want to run the ball and they want to get over the top. And then you have the question with the Chiefs where it's, okay, now they lost Rashee Rice for a while. Can they get over the top with Xavier Worthy or somebody else and create explosive plays? And you got two very good secondaries out there that are difficult to do that against, right? The Saints have Marshawn Lattimore and Tyrann Mathieu and a really good group back there. And we know what the Chiefs secondary can do under Steve Spagnuolo. So whichever team can create deep shots on offense and then obviously prevent them on defense better, I think is going to win this game. Is going to be a big premium on who can make maybe just two or three of those explosive plays through the air to flip the field.
Looking at the Minnesota Vikings, the only 5-0 team. Now, I know the Chiefs can tie them tonight if they get a win. The Vikings are 5-0. They probably had their least, well, not probably, definitely was their least exciting offensive performance. Darnold was only, 14 to 31, which is ugly, 179 yards and an interception. They did score a rushing touchdown, and I know he got banged up, but did come back and finish. Their defense scored a TD. Did you see anything in there that said, okay, maybe defenses are starting to figure it out, or is it just the Jets have a decent defense?
No, the Jets have a really, really good back seven, at least. Their defensive line has been struggling, but it's hard to throw on the Jets, right? And I think part of it, too, was Aaron Jones getting hurt in the middle of the game. It was really rolling when he was on the field because the Vikings do have some balance. But, no, I think we've seen a little bit of a drop-off from Sam Darnold the last 2 weeks. But the big advantage the Vikings have on both sides of the ball is they're so well prepared, and there's always a plan, right? Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores, two of the best play callers on each side of the ball in the entire league. And even in a tough game like that, they knew, if we get off to a good start, we can just hold a lead and get out of here. Because the one thing with the Jets and their secondary, especially, you don't want to do is fall behind. So I think it's a lot of credit to their coaches. Their offensive line is playing really well. And look, I say it all the time, there's a lot to be said for winning a game when you didn't necessarily play the best 60 minutes, right? But got a lead early, seeing a little drop off from Darnold again, and it would really help them if Aaron Jones is 100% going forward. We'll see where that goes in their run game. But look, Minnesota, certainly they deserve to be 5-0. They've earned it. They're one of the best coach teams in the NFL. They have a ton of talent, and they just, not every week is going to be firing on all cylinders, say like it did against San Francisco in a couple of their earlier games.
If Jones isn't there, what's your trust in Chandler? And do you think he becomes the clear main back for them?
I think he does. It's just a matter of he's just not quite as dynamic as Aaron Jones, right? Aaron Jones is a really good player, and even at his age, and it's good for him to split some carries with Chandler. But Jones is so dynamic, and he brings everything. At times, can be a true three down back, still running and receiving, right? So Chandler is a good back. I think he can get you through, but Jones certainly brings another element to where you go, wow, this is a balanced football team, especially with the way they're blocking up front. You could see it in this Jet game when Aaron Jones went out of the game. It just wasn't quite the same with Chandler, right? And Chandler, again, good player, not quite Aaron Jones, and they would have to figure it out. I think the one thing they want to do is try to still avoid Sam Darnold having to just drop back and throw the football a ton, say 40 to 45 times.
One last one for you, Jaden Daniels. And, I think he's the first quarterback to have 1,000 passing yards, 250 rushing yards for the first 5 games. Like, this guy has been a revelation in Washington. He's come out and he's just been dynamic. Obviously, him and McLaurin seem to be on the same page. What's impressed you most about him, and what is there that makes you believe this isn't just a hot streak?
Honestly, what impresses us, it's really everything. I mean, it's his comfort level. And I think he's playing the exact same way that he played at LSU the last year and a half, 2 years. And it's just such this comfort level and calm and playmaking ability and just always knowing where to go with the football while still avoiding negatives. It's quietly one of his best skills when he was in college, was avoiding negatives and avoiding turnovers. And now the last 3 weeks, he's adding big positive plays onto it with his arm and his legs. And this past week, I was really impressed with, actually really the past 2 weeks, I should say, with the fear that he gives defenses in the run game, right? It's kind of that option threat, holding backside defenders. You are seeing right now, because he's proven he's such a threat on the ground, in the same way that Lamar Jackson does it. When he hits that mesh point with the running back, linebackers, defensive ends, everybody's freezing in the front 7 because they know if they crash down too hard, he's gone. And he's got game-breaking speed. You saw he had 82 rushing yards this week. He is just the true dual-threat playmaker right now for that team. They've centered their entire offense around him in the air, on the ground, everywhere. It's incredible to watch how it feels like he had one game where he looked like a rookie, and otherwise he hasn't skipped a beat from the way he was playing at LSU.
Yeah, no, it's been entertaining to watch, man. It's fun to see. So I look forward to it. Lastly, do you think the Bengals are going to trade T. Higgins before the deadline? Are they better off keeping him because when he's in, Chase doesn't get double teamed as much, and we saw what happened this past weekend?
I think that question goes down to the very last minute, because what is it? The trade deadline's after week 9, is it now, or 10? It's going to be a week-to-week thing, I think, here is the Bengals. That was such a big game for them to lose. I mean, you could argue they're 1-4, and they're not very many plays from being 5-0, and us calling them the best team in football. But they need to start winning games. They need to start playing better defense so they can set themselves up for that opportunity. If we were to get to entering week 9 and maybe they're 3-5, they could still convince themselves. But if they keep losing ball games because they're giving up all these points, I would think you almost have to trade him, because I'm not sure exactly with them still needing to pay Jamar Chase. I'm not sure how he fits on their cap.
Yeah, fair point. Awesome, Dalton. Thanks for this, man. Have a great day.
Absolutely. Always good to talk to you guys.
There you go. That is Dalton Wasserman joining us from Pro Football Focus. Hey, guys, do you think the NHL is going to postpone any of the games in Florida with Hurricane Milton coming in? Oh, it's a great question, Dan. I know. I've been watching the news. I know their mayor just had a big press conference because, it's a Category 5 Hurricane, Brownie. Like, it's no joke. And they already been hit with, like, you see the flooding already. Our good friend George Richards had sent us a picture of the practice facility. Well, not us. He put it online. And the practice facility the whole parking lot was flooded, right? Like, this is a big deal. So yeah, like the one NFL, the Buccaneers they're already, they're leaving, I think, Tuesday, and they're moving, like they're uprooting their whole training and everything. Like and then those players, like your family stays back, man. I know people like, oh, how do people live in -30? Now, -30 is cold. I get it. And it sucks. And if you're stuck outside, it's brutal. But -30, unless your pipes burst in your house, it doesn't create what's going to happen right now in this hurricane. Like, you look at the devastation that's going to come from this. It's all, man. People say, I'll take -30 over not living in a hurricane zone all day, every day, 5 times on Sunday.
I don't know what that would be like. I've never been in a situation where, like, Mother Nature, and you'd feel so helpless, right? Like, that's got to be. I have some friends that are down there, and everyone's concerned, and it's not. No. I mean, do these teams, do they go to a remote? It's early enough in the season, you can make it up, obviously, but do they go to a remote location and play?
I don't know. They might. We'll see what happens. But yeah, it's depending. Like, there could be some serious damage here. If there's damage to the building, man, like, trust me, nothing. You're not bigger than that. That could be a huge change. So yeah, I think it's a very fair question. I haven't seen the pattern on where they think it's going to land, but they're pretty concerned already. So you hope for the best for everybody who's not devastated by Hurricane Milton. Quick break. We'll come back on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. Some numbers for you Oiler fans. I'll tell you tomorrow I have an article coming out tomorrow that I'm quite proud of. And it has stats for the upcoming season on milestones for teams to reach, individuals to reach, slumps the teams will try to avoid, and many other factors. There's 100 of them. So if you're looking for a good read, we'll go through some of the numbers tomorrow. But it'll be out tomorrow. I don't care which team you cheer for. There's going to be 2 or 3 for each individual team, and then some of the superstar players and things that they're chasing, and some obscure stats, because you know me, I love the obscurity ones. So we'll get to all that coming up tomorrow. But some numbers for the Oilers, and we'll hear from Chris Knobloch and Leon Draisaitl next on why pump the brakes if you're concerned about the preseason. Next on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
At Fountain Tire, we love jingles. Get up to 25% off select tires
until October 19.
Plus a bonus $50 off any service of $150.
Restrictions apply.
Book online today. Fountain Tire. We're on this road together.
I take possession of my commercial space in 3 months. I need lighting. I need a fire alarm. I need data. I need a generator. I need panels.
Sounds like a job for the men and women of Action Electrical.
Projects team reporting. We design, build, and construct all the electrical systems for your projects. Need everything to work right? Get the Action Electrical project team on your site.
Facing an electrical menace? Call the men and women of Action. Operating throughout Alberta at actionelectrical.net.
Mr. Rooter meets a ghost.
1 plunge, 2, and 3. A toilet clogged with a ghost? Man, I love plumbing. You're free now.
I will never find peace. The clog is fixed, yes, but I have never trusted the sump pump.
No problemo. I can fix that. Now go to the light, you little scamp.
Thank you, Mr. Rooter. To resolve your unfinished plumbing business, trust one plumber, Mr. Rooter.
Excavators, loaders, lifts, compaction equipment, and more. Find the XCMG construction equipment you need. Available for rental or sale at Japa Machinery Group. Japa, helping build Alberta from the ground up for 50 years. Visit japamachinery.com.
The job isn't done until the last load is hauled, and having a semi-trailer out of commission is not an option. Whether replacing or adding to your convoy, Edmonton Trailer has a huge inventory of new and used semi-trailers, trusted by the gravel, logging, oil field, fluids, and freight industries. Find a trailer right for you online or at one of their 3 locations. For sales, service, parts, rental, and finance, when you're in it for the long haul, Edmonton Trailer.
Raise a smoothie to any friend you've had since 1999. That's a good friend. And Booster Juice was there, now celebrating 25 years in Canada and more than 450 locations from coast to coast. A silver anniversary splashed with lots of oranges. Celebrate 25 years of Booster Juice with the return of OG favorite smoothies, like the original, the Orangesicle, and the Marathon, made with cranberries, bananas, strawberries, orange sorbet, and probiotic yogurt. Happy 25th Booster Juice. Download the Booster Rewards app today.
Experience more at the Edmonton Expo Center. Come for Canada's largest trade show, the biggest names in entertainment, exhilarating sporting events, and more. Stay for the experience. But it doesn't end there. Maximize your brand exposure with Edmonton Expo Center's new cutting-edge feature screens, spanning Western Canada's largest venue space. Captivate an annual audience of over 1 million visitors during iconic events like Pro Rodeo, Disney on Ice, Glow, K-Days, and so much more. To learn more, call 780-660-0514 or visit edmontonexpocenter.com today. Before every big interview, every big presentation, every big moment, I've always looked in the mirror and put on my game face. But lately, my eyes look tired, my brow looks old, and I'm starting to think it's game over.
Stop thinking and start seeing me, Dr. Vance Elliott, for skin refreshing treatments designed to give you a fresh and natural appearance.
He didn't make me look weird. No, he gave me back my game face.
Book your consultation today at drvancelliot.com.
Hey, it's Scott from Sherwood and St. Albert Dodge. I think it's safe to say we are all paying attention to interest rates these days. If so, you'll like this. We have 0% financing available on Jeep Compass, Wrangler, Grand Cherokee, and Wagoneer. 0% on the Dodge Durango and the all-new Hornet. And the rates on Ram 1500, Ram 2500, and Ram 3500, you guessed it, 0%. Are you picking up the theme? We have 0% financing on virtually all 2024 new models with hundreds to choose from. Why pay interest? Instead, come get a new vehicle at St. Albert and Sherwood Dodge.
Carve out for a cause at the 6th annual Jason Gregor Pizza Takeout presented by Swift. Thursday, October 24th at the Canadian Ice House. Indulge in unlimited pizza while raising some dough for kids' sport. Vote for your favorite slice to crown the People's Choice Awards winners. Don't miss Edmonton's biggest pizza party with Gregor broadcasting live. Tickets are $60 or $200 for a group of 4. Adults only. Buy your tickets today. For more details, see jasongregorpizzapigout.com.
Jason Gregor, Connor Halley, Sean Brown with you as we roll through Monday afternoon. Of course, Monday Night Football. You have the Chiefs hosting the New Orleans Saints. Chiefs trying to keep pace with the Minnesota Vikings, who are 5-0. Now, the Chiefs, of course, in the AFC. The Vikings are in the NFC. So you don't necessarily have to keep pace with the team in the other conference because the Super Bowl, when you would meet, is already predetermined on where it's going to play. But yeah, you know, the Chiefs, they're always looking for some sort of motivation, I would think. Let's get to In the Room, brought to you by Action Electrical. They're always looking to help you out. And they know all the best ways to get the savings you can get, whether grants, everything else for solar for your home or for your business. Go to actionelectrical.net. They can help you out. The Edmonton Oilers, some moves today. Matt Savoy has been recalled. This is purely for potential salary cap savings later on. If he's on your roster and then you go into LTI, what happens then is he would count at $886K instead of 1.86 because his bonus wouldn't count if he was recalled. So that's just kind of a plan ahead move by the Oilers. They've also signed Cam Wright to a two-way contract, so it gets NHL and AHL money. Was on an AHL only deal last year, and obviously has impressed him enough to get himself a two-way deal for the Oilers. He'll obviously stay in Bakersfield. The Oilers, Janmark and Jeff Skinner swapped lines today. Janmark was with Henrique and Brown, and of course, that meant Janmark was with Draisaitl and Arvidsson. Skinner was with Henrique and Brown, and so. Here's Leon Draisaitl. We'll get a few things. Just his thoughts, first of all, on the preseason, you know, because some are wondering, oh, gee, should there be some concern?
I mean, I personally don't put a lot of stock into it. Do we have to be a lot better than what we've shown? Yeah, of course. But I think, you know, it's fair to say that sometimes it's tough going from a Stanley Cup final game 7 into a preseason game on a Wednesday night. Not saying that you're not trying the same, but sometimes it's just it takes a little bit longer to find your game and find your legs. And so yeah, there shouldn't be any motivational issues on Wednesday.
Agree with his last line. Shouldn't be any motivational issues on a Wednesday.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's like I said, for certain guys that are, more established than other guys, the preseason is a little bit of a grind, especially for your top players. But like I said earlier, different guys use training camp for different reasons and have to approach it completely different. But you know what? I think the other thing too is like, of course you're not going to make a big deal out of anything right now. It's preseason. It's all about trying to stay positive and gear yourself up to, the home opener. But, I think that this is a team that's, that they had they struggled last year in their start. Right. So they're aware of it. Mm-hmm. Right. But it's, like I said, it's the mental, the grind, and I'm sure the coaching staff is, having a lot of conversations leading up to the home opener and guys and their identity and how they have to play and expectations. And, all those uncomfortable conversations are starting because now it's real.
Draisaitl did just talk about, what he's seen from Arvidsson so far as a line mate.
Yeah, I mean, he's looked great, I thought. He's obviously a really good player, a very established player. Every year he seems to just get it done and goes about his thing and his business. And, I'm really excited to create more chemistry with him, to get to know him a little better on and off the ice. And as to like him and I together on the ice, I mean, it's tough to say. We've had 2 games together, and I can certainly say that I wasn't at my best. So, I think the real question towards that starts on Wednesday.
Draisaitl's comment there in regards to, and I want to listen to his next comment though, just about, building chemistry with line mates, getting them to complement one another.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that, I think I can make any player better. It doesn't really matter what type of player that is. That's my goal, and that's what I strive for every day. But I think he's just a smart hockey player. He finds pockets. He finds holes. I think he's really smart at reading off of guys, and I can see that already quite a bit in practice and in the games. He just knows where to go, and obviously he's got a motor to him to get pucks and get in on the forecheck. And I've always gelled well with players that type.
I love that confidence, right? I mean, and it's true. I mean, he can, when you play with players like that, you got to be ready because they can get you the puck and they see plays long before you see them. But it is good. It is going to be a little bit of an adjustment period, and it doesn't matter how good you are or how long you've been in the year. I mean, you look at Skinner and Arvidsson and these guys that are coming in, they're coming into a new situation, and it does, it takes time. And, when you're playing with such elite players like McDavid and Draisaitl, like I can only imagine how hard it is, right? How hard it is to be able to try and play your game and play to your strengths, but also not to just necessarily default and just try to play in a way that you think they want you to play. Like that's challenging and tricky for, any player throughout the league, no matter, you're a first year or you're an experienced player. These guys, they're so skilled. So it's going to take a little bit of time for Skinner and these guys to kind of figure out, their game, and to have the belief that, they have the ability, they have the skill, they can make plays. And, that's one of the strengths of, Hyman, I would say, playing with McDavid. Like he's found a nice balance between, him, playing his game and knowing when to give it up and when to play. That's not easy playing with those guys because they demand the puck and want the puck, and you got to make plays for those guys. Like they want, if you're not making plays, I'd imagine they would be some uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah, probably. I would think so, or you wouldn't last there very long.
No, you got to have some thick skin.
No, it goes back to why there is some frustration at times for a former 4th overall draft pick who played on their line. So yeah, despite what people thought that I still the thing I chuckle about the most was when someone claimed Pajärvi made McDavid better. Still, that is without question the most bold take of all time. Incorrect, but bold. 4 o'clock. When we return, we are going to be joined by Milt Steagle in the 4 o'clock hour. Spec will be by. Kevin Woodley's back. We're going to get the Pacific Division goaltending preview. You've been waiting a month for this one. This ranks the top 3 goalies in each organization because Kevin's believing that eventually you have to use your number 3. So, where do you think Skinner, Pickard, and Rodrigue will rank in the Pacific Division? We will find out from Woodley coming up at 5:20 today. But first, let's get to the Con Man Sports 1440 update brought to you by Fountain Tire. They make your seasonal tire changeover hassle-free by offering tire storage services. So when you switch to your winter tires, they'll store your summer tires safely so you don't have to worry about finding space for them at home. Visit fountaintire.com for your more information.
The Sports 1440 update.
The Edmonton Oilers were called Matt Savoy from the Bakersfield Condors. Savoy was acquired by the Oilers from the Sabres for Ryan McLeod and Tyler Tullio. The team also signed Cam Wright to a 1-year, 2-way contract. Wright appeared in 48 games last season with the Condors, recording 21 points in 48 games. The Vegas Golden Knights claimed center Raphael Lavoie from the Oilers, who was, of course, drafted back in 2019 in the second round. He appeared in just 7 games in Edmonton, recording 0 points. Vegas also claimed winger Cole Schwind from the Calgary Flames. Veteran goaltender James Reimer was claimed off waivers by the Anaheim Ducks after spending time with the Sabres. Zach Aston-Reese claimed by Columbus after spending last year with the Red Wings organization. And the Vancouver Canucks claimed goaltender Yuri Patera off waivers from the Bruins. The Toronto Maple Leafs signing forwards Max Pacioretty and Steele Lorentz to 1-year contracts, also extending defenseman Cade Weber with an extension. In the NFL, Week 5 wraps up tonight. Chiefs taking on the Saints. Kickoff set for 6:15. Major League Baseball. Bottom of the 7th, Guardians and Tigers scoreless. The Guardians lead that series 1-9. Later tonight, you got the Royals taking on the Yankees. Yankees up 1-0 there. In NBA preseason rolling on tonight, the New Zealand Breakers hit to Philadelphia, taking on the Sixers at 5. You also got the Mavs, Grizzlies, Thunder in San Antonio. The Jazz host the Rockets, and earlier today, the Magic fall to the Pelicans, 106-104. Zion Williamson, 16 points in the win. Coming up in hour 3 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll be joined by CFL Hall of Fame receiver Milt Steagle to recap the weekend, and we'll ask 5 questions. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440, Stingray Radio Station. CKJR broadcasts from West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin.
Download the free Stingray music app and listen wherever you go.
Introducing the Female Super League. Female hockey is on the rise with more women playing the game than ever. Join us as we pave the way for the future of women's hockey. The FSL is more than a game. It's a movement and an experience for the motivated female athlete. Teams will compete in a showcase-style format featuring consistent interprovincial competition. Come be part of the journey as the 2024-25 season unveils a 12U division, as well as the launch of a groundbreaking progressive body-checking 14U division. For more information, visit FemaleSuperLeague.com.
You got a go-to coffee spot, a trusted barber, even a lucky game day jersey. But when it's about looking your absolute best, there's only one name you need. Mr. Dirk. Family run since 1939, we're experts in crafting impeccable tailor-made suits and offering a wide variety of everyday styles. Pair that with personalized one-on-one fittings and the convenience of on-site tailoring. Mr. Dirk elevates your style game. Visit our Edmonton store or explore MrDirk.com. Score big on style with Mr. Dirk.
From bench to bench, sport to sport, Elite Promotional Marketing will help take your teamwear to the next level with a wide selection of uniforms, apparel, and promotional products. So when you want your team to look elite, head to ElitePromoMarketing.com.
Drive, pick, and win. All this month at Nisku Ford. Drive off in a brand new Ford with 0% financing or choose up to $24,000 in rebates. Then celebrate the season by picking your very own prize pumpkin from the Nisku Ford Pumpkin Patch. With every car purchase, new or used, you could plug TVs, gaming systems, AirPods, and more. Get all the prize details at NiskuFord.ca. Above expectations.
Looking for the perfect spot to unwind? Check out The Ridge Social Eatery, St. Albert. The Ridge is a locally owned, upscale neighborhood restaurant offering unbeatable daily features. Open daily at 11:30. Craving something late? Check out their new late-night menu from 8 till close. Tuesday is wing night. Come savor The Ridge's perfectly seasoned wings that always hit the spot. And why not pair those wings with a $4 draft pint? Welcoming atmosphere, friendly staff, good times. For more, visit the Ridge St.
Just after 4:00. Welcome back. How are you? Jason Gregor, Sean Brown, Connor Halley on Sports 1440, sports1440.ca, live, Oilers Nation, YouTube and Facebook and X, Instagram. Thanks as always for watching and listening to the program presented by PlayAlberta.ca, where they still have the Oilers as the favorite to win the Pacific and the Western Conference. And I still, I might have to, I got to double check. I think the Oilers are still the favorite for the NHL, the Stanley Cup winner. Yes, the Oilers are the favorites at 9-1. Then the Florida 11 and Dallas, New Jersey has the fourth best odds. Colorado and you look at who else they got in there after Colorado, Carolina. Oof, that was. I'm not big on Carolina this year at all. I think they lost a lot on their back end. I'm surprised the Rangers are that low. But the Oilers best odds to win. Obviously, the longest shots, San Jose. San Jose is actually like 375. The Columbus 220, Anaheim's 200. Like, I'm surprised the Sharks are that much worse than Columbus. Like, let's be honest, none of them are going to win anyway. But if I was, there's none. If I had to pick a long shot, who would give me the best chance? I'd probably go with Tampa Bay.
Just because they've won.
Well, they've won. They got a lot of skill. You know, Vasilevsky can steal a series for you. So I'm just picking a longer shot, right? Yeah. 22-1. That's probably who I'd go with.
So much of it too is if guys can stay healthy.
Oh yeah, 100%. Right? So, yeah, but lots of people are in on the Oilers for sure. Hey, fellas, did you guys watch the Face Off documentary? If so, what were your thoughts? I did watch the first 2 episodes last week. I haven't watched the first 4 episodes that did involve the Oilers, only because of work. I didn't get a chance to ask him today, but I'm the only thing I really want to ask David about is what's the phobia of ketchup. That's probably the thing that stood out the most to me. I thought that was kind of funny. I was, people are like, oh, I saw, now I know why I didn't go out to get the trophy. But I'm like, well, how did you think he was going to feel when they lost? Right? Like, I know that sometimes people need to see something before they think it's, oh, that's how bad it is. Right? Like when you think about it, now that's a tough thing. But I think a lot of people, like just when you see someone who actually hits their kid, until you see it, we're naturally, we never want to think the actual how bad certain situations are. And so I think some people are like, oh my God, like he was really distraught. I'm like, well, yeah, they just lost the Stanley Cup.
That's the beauty of these. I love the fact that they're doing it because a lot of people just, you don't know. And I used to get a lot of questions when I played, when you'd get in a fight or certain situations and people, well, how did it start? Like, and then you tell them like, well, we looked at each other and asked if we wanted to fight. And they were always just amazed at just like how casual. And they're like, really? Like, but he didn't do anything to you. So now that we get this inside look at, the raw emotion and just everything that comes along with being, a pro athlete and what they do and what their environment looks like. It's just, I think it's great exposure to the game, and it just gives you a different look at Connor McDavid now.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. And, there's a few things that I'm looking forward to this season. There's going to be some milestones. Sidney Crosby's going to reach 1,600 points. Ovechkin needs 42 goals to break Gretzky's record. And I know that sounds maybe crazy, but he scored 22 goals in his last 35 games last season. And I think they've added more offensive punch around him this year in the offseason. Like, I won't be shocked if Ovi scores 42 goals. How can you be at this point? Like, he already owns the NHL record for most 40-goal seasons. He just showed us, like, in the second half of the year, if he was ever going to tire, you'd think theoretically it'd be in the second half. He got better as the season went on. 22 goals in the last 35 games. Like, are you joking?
I don't know if I want him to break it.
Well, why? He's going to break it.
I don't want him to. I want this to be Gretzky. I want this to be Gretzky's record.
Yeah, but it's not going to be. And
I hope it is. I have nothing.
But Gretzky wants him to break it
because that's what makes Gretzky so great, the great one. But I just think it's like Wayne Gretzky. I want that record to be his. I want it to be a Canadian. Nothing against Ovechkin, but I don't want to say I'm rooting against them or anything, but
it sounds like you're rooting.
Yeah. But I just feel like it's Gretzky, and I want him to have, that's a pretty big record, and I want him to have it. And I love the way Gretzky throughout his career, especially in today's athlete, it's amazing to me how well Gretzky's handled himself on and off the ice for all the attention and everything he gets. And I just admire that when you're that big, and you handle yourself the way he has, it's just I just want him to have it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But he's not going to. I'm just letting you know.
So he's got to follow him around, like
no. Well, usually I think when he would get to within 3 goals, he will.
He starts traveling around
because he can score a hat trick at any point, right? And it might even like I wonder if he does it when it's 4 goals. Because I'd have to like, at what point was Gordy? Remember when Gretzky broke the record of 850 points and he got to 851, and Gordy was following him around because it's a big. I think to me it's great to pass the baton. You actually get to see that in a sense of here's the guy who was the greatest goal scorer we'd seen up until this point, and now Alex Ovechkin will take the mantle. And you know what? Maybe down the road someday, but it's going to be a harder record to break. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah,
because you look at Ovi. He's not like Ovi's going to score 900 goals, and like honestly, like 950. Like how many more years is he going to play? Like I don't know. Like guys are playing longer now than ever,
and he's got some hard miles on him too. Like it's not like he plays. He doesn't play an easy game,
dude. He's only missed due to injury 35 games in his career. 35.
Wow.
Now he's maybe it's 37. I got to double check that. But you look at Ovechkin and the amount of games where he missed 35 games due to injury. Now he's missed 59 in his career, but 6 games were due to COVID. He missed 3 games when he got suspended for skipping the All-Star game. Think about that now. Right. So there's 9. He was suspended for another 7 games due to suspension. Then he missed 6 games for personal reasons. I think there was a death, something different that wasn't injuries. So yeah, 35 games in his career where he missed due to an actual physical injury. That is for a guy who, by the way, since Alex Ovechkin came in the league, start the 05-06 season. Where do you think he ranks in the NHL amongst hits?
Oh, he's got to be high because I played against him early in his career, right? And he was a guy that you had to keep an eye out for.
Dude,
right?
he's third. Third most hits
in
the NHL since I've been tracking him. And so there's Cal Clutterbuck. Then there's Matt Martin. And then there's Alex Ovechkin.
Yeah.
So what's the big difference? Well, one guy is going to be the all-time greatest goal scorer ever.
Yeah.
And the other two are like, they're crash and bang guys who people loved and everything. But that's what's stunning about Ovechkin was he was no one ever talks about him as a power forward, but I don't know why. He is a power. He didn't fight a lot, but he's a power, and he was big and strong. He could have fought if he wanted to. He is big and strong. And the thing about Ovi, he could have played in the 80s and 90s, no problem, because he's that big and strong.
Oh yeah, he's a bull. He's a bull. But you know what? And the thing too, when he hits with purpose. It's not like Lavoie where it's like, hey, you're on the fourth line. I need you to play gritty and tough. And he just looked uncomfortable doing it, right? Where Ovechkin, like, he's got some big hits. And when he came in, like, you had to be aware and brace yourself, because if he caught you in a tough spot, he could hurt you.
Yeah. So, guys, the orders are right up against the cap with Savoy and Wright. If we send them down, sign Dermott for $1 million, LTIR Kane, does that mean we have $4 million? No, Andrew, it does not. It's not how it works with LTIR. They're not going to put. There's really little benefit to put Kane on LTIR because then they don't accrue cap space. Doesn't benefit them. Wright is not on the roster. He just signed a 2-way deal. He's still in the American League. He just got a contract. Savoy is recalled only because it's a weird part of the ruling that's called your LTIR bonus pool. And what that means is, so if you're a player who's on the opening day roster, and then you get sent down, and then the team goes into LTIR later in the year, when you're recalled, your bonus portion doesn't count against the cap. It's only your actual base salary. So in the case of Matt Savoy, he is a 1.86 mil with his bonus. That's how it would count, because it's just when you're in LTIR, they do that so teams, you kind of get punished. That's one of the punishments, is recalling players with bonuses. Their cap hit becomes way more. It actually includes their bonus because you're already in LTIR. So that's why you do it. But if he's on the roster to start the season, then he goes back down. And if he's recalled, he's an $886,000 cap hit. So $1 million less. So this gives Edmonton the flexibility if they choose, A, if they go into LTIR, and B, if they do and they want to recall Savoy, it's much easier to fit him in because he's now 886. So that's all it is. They're not putting Kane on LTIR. There's no benefit to put Kane on LTIR right now. None. They don't gain. You don't really gain the cap space. It doesn't help them at all. They're not going to be adding $4 million right now. So I don't expect Kane to go on to LTIR right away. I'd be surprised considering everything, like they've said all year long, they don't want to do it. Right. So there's little benefit to do it right now. But Dermott will be signed to a contract likely tomorrow. So there you go. Hey, boys, do you see Matthews passing Ovechkin one day? He's on pace, JP. Well, here's the thing. I don't think he's on pace because what Ovechkin's, first of all, he's missed more games. So I know people go on age. I'm like, but let's just go on games played and seasons played. And if you look after, where he's at, the big challenge for Matthews is going to be Ovi, when he got into his 30s, all of a sudden went on a run of scoring 50 goals. Now, Matthews could do that, right? He'll have a chance. But what's hard for Matthews is the longer Ovi plays, the harder it's going to be to break the record. And when Matthews earlier in his career has already had some injuries, hopefully he's over them, because I think the league's better when the best players are in the league. But health, I think, will be the biggest issue for him. Because not only do you have to be a great scorer, which I think Matthew is, you have to be healthy. And there's no guarantee you will be. I hope he is. But there's no guarantee he will be. That's the challenge. Right? And so you can't go off of games played because to me, it's more seasons than anything else. Now, the advantage Matthew has is he started in the NHL sooner than Ovechkin, right? Because Ovechkin didn't come over till he's 20. So and Matthew started when he was 19 years. So that's kind of the one benefit he has to make up for some of the missed games played. So there you go. 419, Jason Gregor, Connor Halley, Sean Brownfield on Sports 1440, Orders Nation, YouTube, and Facebook is always presented by PlayAlberta.ca. We'll return. We'll chat with a gentleman talking about direction. Is there one? If so, What is it for a franchise that desperately needs one? Next on The Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
The Canada-wide clearance is on at GMC. Get 0% financing for up to 72 months on the 2024 Sierra 1500 Elevation. With Sierra's 13.4-inch diagonal premium GMC infotainment system with Google built-in compatibility, available off-road package with hill descent control, plus an available 3-liter Duramax diesel engine, you can take the road less traveled and try new things, like fishing or whitewater rafting. I should have gone fishing. Ask your GMC dealer for details.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta? New players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet every week all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
The locks are on a timer. They're going to get out.
Sounds like a job for the men and women of Action Electrical.
Service team reporting. With the remarkable reach of our bucket trucks and other equipment, we assess, service, and maintain your electrical lighting and automation systems.
Facing an electrical menace? Call the men and women of Action. Operating throughout Alberta at actionelectrical.net.
Day or night, tasting just the right. You can order Oodle Noodle at oodlenoodle.ca, delivering you the news almost right away. Remember, you can order Oodle Noodle at oodlenoodle.ca. So stay on your couch all day and order oodlenoodle.ca. Oodle Noodle.
You've probably heard the term supply and demand. Something is needed and someone supplies it. We're GS Construction, and we're in the supply and demand business with you. Edmonton and the surrounding area continue to grow. Infrastructure has to be continually replaced and upgraded to keep up with demand. You see it with new buildings and new roads, but what about below ground, where all sorts of pipes bring you water and take wastewater away? That's where we come in. For more on what we do, go to gsconstruction.ca.
I'm Rick Showers from No Bull RV, and the time to think about winterizing your RV is before the snow flies. There's a lot of steps you need to take to winterize your trailer or motorhome.
And you have to get every step right every single time. Right, Rick?
That's right, Bob, because if you make even a little mistake, you might not realize it till spring. And by then, it's too late to fix what you got wrong.
Hey, Rick, do you winterize your own trailer?
Not anymore, Bob. I hired people who are smarter than me, genius technicians who check every component, dozens of systems to be maintained and protected. And today, we offer that service to you, starting at $99. Every winterization package comes with a full report in writing, so you know what to expect come spring. If you're confident to do it yourself, have at it. If you're like me and you'd rather have this done by somebody who knows what they're doing, then come to Noble, and we'll take care of you.
And that's Noble.
NobleRV.ca.
425. Jason Gregor, Sean Brown, Connor Halley with you on Sports 1440, Orders Nation, YouTube, and Facebook. The next, our show is always brought to you by playalberta.ca. Some news. So, Wright actually will stay on the roster. Just got a note from this. So they're going to have Wright on the roster, which would put the Orders. We're going to try to get hard on from Puckpedia to explain the benefits. I guess they feel they can max it out. And with the right contract, if him and Savoy are on the roster for a day, that they will get right to the roster, save for $53. So basically they'd be at 88 million minus 53. So 87 million, the rest of the numbers. And so, because I just saw him tweet out that that's what he thinks the Orders will do, and then put Kane on LTR. But I thought the whole point of not having Kane on LTR was they would accrue money. So we might have to get him to clarify that. So there you go. So some number finagling. The salary cap is always part of the final day roster for a lot of teams. And then a day into the season, it can change. So who knows? Maybe Noah Philp will be back here sooner than later. Although Stan Bowman did say he wanted him to play some games and get him going first. So that might happen for a week or two. But the way Noah Philp played in the preseason, now I know it's preseason. So you know what? Maybe it was that. But, man, he looked like a player who's NHL ready to me. So we'll see. Now, let's get to our big guest of the day, brought to you by Silent Ice Sports and Entertainment, innovative market leader across North America. Sports properties include the Seattle Thunderbirds, the Saints, the Hockey Super League, the Female Super League, and more. Looking to continue developing hockey players. It's Silent Ice Sports and Entertainment. As we are joined by Hall of Famer, also ace analyst on the CFL on TSN, Milt Steagle joins us, who is likely very happy, of course, as his former team, the Bombers, are rolling again. Milt, they're looking like the favorite to get to their 5th consecutive Grey Cup.
Yes, they are. First of all, thanks for having me. Hopefully everything is well. Yes, they are. They're playing some excellent ball. It's like Zach just woke up and said, okay, let me start playing some better football, and offensive line started gelling together. Defense, they've been together all year long, but when that offense put it together, Brady Oliveira and what they're doing with those receivers, I mean, it's going to take a lot to beat them. I mean, they can be beaten. We've seen that in past years. I mean, they've lost the last 2 Grey Cups, but if they continue playing the way they are now, you're going to have your A-plus game on to beat this team, because they're playing some pretty good football right now.
So let's look around the league. We got 5 of the 6 spots wrapped up. Hamilton needs somewhat of a miracle to catch Toronto here down the stretch. So, it looks like we know who the 6 teams are. Calgary and Edmonton are officially out, and Hamilton's right on life support. You look at let's look at the West first. And what have you made of the Elks quarterbacking decisions the last 3 weeks, where, they had won a few games in a row. They come out of a bye. They go back to Trey Ford against the Bombers. He struggles really for the first time all year. Then they go to Bethel Thompson. And then afterwards, hey, we're going to Bethel Thompson. He's more consistent, gives us the best chance to win. But if that was the case, why didn't they just stick with him in the first game against Winnipeg?
Yeah, it's difficult to answer that question, because none of us are in the meetings. None of us are in the locker room. None of us are on the practice field. We've heard some things about guys not being happy and expressing that. So I don't know all the ins and outs of it. But from the outside looking in, it's a difficult situation. We know both of these guys are capable. They bring different skill sets to the field. And Jarius Jackson, I guess, these last couple of weeks, he felt that McLeod Bethel Thompson gave him a better opportunity to win the game. Apparently that wasn't the case. I mean, he played well, especially his last game, but they didn't win the game. So those questions are going to have to be answered very soon, because both of these guys are free agents. Is Jarius Jackson going to be back? Is Geroy Simon going to be back? Does Trey Ford want to come back to this situation, or does he want to go closer to home? Or what's McLeod Bethel Thompson's situation? He's 36 years old. So, yes, there's some murky water that was going on with these decision making, but that water is not going to get any clearer now because they have more decisions to make as the offseason looms.
Yeah. What about Trey Ford, Milt? What do you make of him?
The man has a skill set that very few humans possess. Off-scripted plays, when he gets outside of that pocket, he's very hard to contain. But we saw in that Winnipeg game, when he's not able to get outside the pocket, what happens? He's not able to use his legs. We know he's not the tallest guy. So some of his situations where he can't see downfield, and not saying that can't be developed. We saw the greatest player quarterback in CFL history, Doug Flutie. He was about the same height. So that can happen. But is he willing to develop that skill set? Is he going to allow whatever team he's on for him to have growth to happen? Or is he just going to depend on his mobility and getting outside the pocket to make plays? Because if you're going to do that, it's going to be very difficult to win on a consistent level because you're going to take some pounding. Teams are going to adjust like the Winnipeg Blue Bombers did. So if he can develop that, he can be a great one. But until then, I mean, teams pretty much know what his skill set is. And look at the Blue Bomber game, you know how to defend it.
Yeah, well, the thing about the Blue Bombers is, Trey Ford struggled. I'm not surprised. They're the best defense in the league. Look what they did in the first 7 series to Bethel Thompson, a 36-year-old veteran. He had 38 passing yards, right? Like I'm kind of surprised that people are, Trey Ford struggled. Like, go look at Nathan Rourke and Adams and other guys this year. Like, that defense at times could make a quarterback look completely discombobulated.
Right. No, I definitely disagree. I definitely agree. They've pretty much stymied every single offense they've gone against this year. But we know with Trey Ford what he likes to do, what gives him that energy, what gives that team that energy when he's on the field. And it's not just dropping back. We've seen him make some plays dropping back, but once he gets outside that pocket, that man is almost impossible to contain. Not only throwing the ball down the field, but running the ball. It's not too many linebackers, let alone defensive backs, who are as fast as him. So as a defense, keep him in that pocket, force him to drop back and throw the ball down the field, and you have a chance of winning. So that's what the Bombers were going to do. And I guarantee you, every single team now, if they have the resources or the capability or the players to do it, they're going to try to duplicate that and see if Trey Ford can be that drop back quarterback.
Milt, I seen the tweet that you tweeted out there. The first time since 1945, Alberta will not have a team in the playoffs. What do you feel like Calgary and Edmonton? What's their next moves?
Woo! Let's start with Edmonton. I mean, of course, first of all, they have to figure out what quarterback they want to bring back, and possibly both. I don't know how that's going to happen because I know Trey Ford he wants that big payday, and I'm sure McLeod Bethel Thompson is not going to come back to Edmonton for a backup payday. So that's going to be difficult. Then they got to figure out what they're going to do with GM and head coach. So they have a lot of things that they have to stabilize, but the most important is quarterback. They got 2 capable guys, in my opinion, so they have some options, but they have to figure out what they're going to do with that. In Calgary, they got a lot of problems in Calgary. They have, and it just didn't happen this year. You think about the last 3 years. Yeah, last couple of years they made the playoffs, but they came through the back door. They were 6-12, and they weren't a threat at all. So they got to figure out their situation, their head coaches, their GM. Does he wear both of those hats? Their quarterback, Jake Mayer, who they said was going to be their guy. 2 years, he hadn't had it figured out. They have so many other places that they have to stabilize. Do they keep their same president? Is it time to blow up what they have there and make some major changes? Because what they've tried to do over the last 3 years has not worked. So both of these teams going into the offseason got to look themselves in the mirror. We know Edmonton got a new owner. Is he willing to put some money up to get the right people there to make the right decisions so they can get back to winning? So both of these teams have some major decisions to make in the offseason. One thing neither one of these teams can do is stand pat. The way these guys have played over the last 3 years, you stand pat, you won't have anybody in those stands. Because as a fan, you can't say, yes, we're going to be better when you're bringing back the same individuals on and off the field that you had the previous 3 years. So both of these teams will be making some decisions, some major decisions come the offseason.
Well, I think it's I think I kind of look at what's interesting to me is Edmonton started the season with the guy who was the coach and the GM, and I have long argued that you just can't do that nowadays, Milt. It doesn't it doesn't work. And the Calgary Stampeders are essentially in a similar situation, and I don't think it's there's too much work to do. Right? He's GM and head coach Dave Dickinson. They're out of the playoffs. Chris Jones started the season as GM and head coach. They're out of the playoffs. Doesn't work.
No, I totally agree. And then those guys, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I understand that Chris Jones, they said he wasn't the defensive coordinator this year, but you think this man who's been involved with defenses all his life was just going to relinquish that role? No. And even Dave Dickinson, he was involved with the offense. So these guys are wearing 3 hats and trying to do that. It's just too much. It's just too much. As a head coach, GM, very few people have done it with success. It's just too much. And it's a conflict of interest. Imagine you telling a player that I don't think you're worth this much. And as a head coach, you're expecting to go out there and, basically do all this stuff and you don't think he's worth that much. So they definitely have to separate the two. I totally agree with you on that. There should never be a situation where the head coach is and the GM at the same time.
Yeah, it's just not good to me. So you look at BC Saskatchewan. Which team do you like better? Like they look like they're barring a miracle here, they're going to face off each other. They're going to play this weekend essentially for a home field. Which one of those two teams do you like better?
Woo, man, it's tough. And I was thinking about that earlier, and I was just flip-flopping back and forth. You look at the quarterbacks, and Trevor Harris has been playing some great ball since he returned from his injury, and Nathan Rourke, he hasn't. But that running game has been going strong with William Stanback. He's been making some great plays. Both of these defenses are on par with their with the way they play. Saskatchewan, of course, has been so great because they haven't given up many rushing yards. So this may come down to a kicking game. And we see the best kicker maybe in the league right now, Sean White. He may control this game because of what he's been able to do with field goals, because this is going to be a tight game, and it may come down to the field goals at the end of it. And if I got to pick one of these guys, it's not even close. I'm going with Sean White. So to say that, I may think that BC may be able to pull this one out with a last-second field goal.
Milt, one last one for you. The Montreal Alouettes. You know what? They're very good last year. They're very good against this year, but I don't know why they don't seem as dominant. Maybe that's just kind of the whole hum part. They're a dominant team, and they're like, hey, we know when to focus. What do you make of Montreal's year?
Montreal still has the best record in the CFL, so you can't say they're not dominant. And I think they kind of went into cruise control because they wrapped up the East a few weeks ago, and you don't want to say that they went into cruise control, but it's kind of difficult. It's human nature when you know that you pretty much know where you're going to be in the playoffs. You pretty much know you have a bye, and all you have to do is win one game and you're in the Grey Cup. So as a coach, you don't want to coach that mentality, but as a player, I've been in that situation a couple of times, and guys put it in cruise control. They're thinking about not getting hurt, making sure they're there for the playoffs. So to say they're not dominant, I understand that because the last few weeks they really haven't dominated. They lost some games, but they still do have the best record in the CFL, and they still are the Eastern champs. So they know how to turn it on and off. Maybe we saw that last year. No one gave them a chance to beat the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in the Grey Cup. No one gave them a chance to beat the Toronto Argonauts in the East Final. So they have enough there. When it's time to put it out there and turn it on, they know how to do it. So I'm not going to count them out just yet.
Milt, great stuff, man. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon. Enjoy the final few weekends in the playoffs.
All right. You guys take care. And thanks for having me on.
There you go. That's Milt Steagle from the CFL on TSN. I like the playoffs, man. Once you get in the playoffs, anything can happen. But, man, the Bombers are going to have home field advantage, which means they're only going to have to win one game to get to the Grey Cup. And they're going to be a tough out. Like, they've been to the Grey Cup 4 consecutive seasons. This will be 5. And I got to go back and look, but I think the Elks are the only one who've done that. It was actually, when they won all 5. So that's a big difference. But BC, Saskatchewan, BC's got to get better quarterback play. They had really good quarterback play early, and the Rourke and Adams together just hasn't worked out. We could have a rematch of last year's Grey Cup easily in Winnipeg and Montreal. And just showing that Jason Moss, not a bad coach.
Yeah.
Everybody thought, like anybody, gets a little bit better, but I thought there was people used to focus on the white noise. Oh yeah, Moss, look at him. He would throw a Gatorade bottle every now and then. Well, that doesn't mean that he's not a good offensive mind. And people, oh yeah, but they were down 2 and he went for a field goal first. Yeah. Because you get the field goal, guaranteed points. Then you go to the touchdown. What's the difference? Either one, right? You got to get 2 at some point. Because what if you don't get the points because you gamble on third down? You get nothing. So I get why he did that. For anybody who wants to remember, that was a good debate we had about that one. So I look at it. Cons, what's the score here in the early in this Detroit game?
So now, 3-0 Tigers.
Ooh. And, got that team they had an unreal from August 8th. They come out of nowhere and just dominated.
That's just amazing.
And then they got shellacked in game 1. And now it looks like they're right back on track. It's still early, but they're, what inning we in?
No,
now?
top of the 9th.
Is it the top of the 9th?
Yeah.
Okay, I can't see
It was a 3-run shot in the top of the 9th, actually. Just happened.
Oh, see, I just thought I don't know why was the game on the whole time?
Yeah, absolutely.
I keep forgetting that there's even a TV.
I haven't seen the game. Yeah.
I switched it over at like 2:20. Confession,
okay.
I forgot.
Well, there you go. But either way, because I was just like, oh, this must be like 4th inning. All right. Well, there you go. So top of the 9th, a 3-run shot. Oh my God. These playoffs have been amazing.
I love it. I love the importance of pitching. Right.
And hitting though. Look at that. A 3-run jack.
Yeah. No, that's what I mean. Like, but it's just every pitch. It's
can turn into a big play.
Yeah.
That's what's exciting.
Yeah.
It's like not every shot in hockey is a big play.
Yeah.
Right. Or the potential of it as much. We just know it. Right. But you never know. You can get your number 8 hitter can go yard. Right. All of a sudden a guy can hit a double at a crucial time. Or the pitcher can, wind up and be 100-mile-an-hour K. Strike out with the bases loaded. So it is, 162 games is really long to commit in the regular season. But in the playoffs, but I love playoffs. I don't care. You give me any sport.
Any sport.
It's just everybody's so amped up more. And you see it at every level. I don't care. It doesn't matter. You get your U13 kids in the playoffs. They're fired up more.
I love the trash talking now, right? They're hitting home runs, flipping bat. Remember when, what was it, Batista there for the Blue Jays? Remember when he flipped the bat and it was such a big deal? It seems like now whenever anyone hits a home run, they throw the bat. It doesn't seem to be as big of a deal anymore. And I like that. I like a little bit of the showboating.
Yeah. Oh, I don't mind it at all. You got, see, I don't even know. I just call it a release of emotion. And I don't like, and I'm always saying, hey, if you don't like it, don't let them score. You can control it, right? You can control the other team from celebrating. Stop them so they don't score or score a run. You have a choice, right?
Yep.
Or I shouldn't say a choice. You have the ability to do it. Doesn't mean you always get to. We'll come back. We have 5 questions. Kevin Woodley's coming up. I know many of you are already texting in. Where do you think the Oilers are going to rank in the Pacific Division goaltending rankings? Not just a tandem, but also the number 3 in organization. That probably drops Edmonton down a bit, to be honest, because their number 3 has no NHL experience. So, but we'll see where does he put him because of Stu Skinner, one of the younger starting goalies in the Pacific Division. Took his team to a Stanley Cup final, Game 7. Was excellent in the 3rd and 4th rounds. We'll find out in about 40 minutes time here on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. We'll also take your text 833-401-1440 in our eWell inbox.
Edmonton's premium live music and party venue is
On the Rocks.
Check out Bingo Tunes on Monday. Perform on the best stage in town with karaoke on Wednesdays. Learn how to salsa with Salsa Rocks on Thursdays. And every weekend, OTR goes live.
With your favorite bands on the OTR stage and DJ Kenny K.
For everything that's going on at On the Rocks, give us a follow.
Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter.
At On the Rocks, EDM.
Eat well, party hard.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks. Open every day till 2 a.m.
A premier hockey solution with a clear path for long-term development is proud to be entering its 8th season of independent borderless hockey, featuring provincial and cross-province competition with showcase-style regular season gameplay and a strong commitment to individual skill development. It's an attractive option for those seeking family life balance. The Hockey Super League offers opportunities for both male and female athletes born between 2012 and 2017. Visit hockeysuperleague.com for more information.
Ain't it beautiful?
There's electricity in the air. Carrie Dahl here for Volvo of Edmonton, where the Volvo XC40 and C40 fully electric vehicle is now in stock, along with a great selection of Volvo T8 hybrid models. Experience the trusted Volvo quality and technology to power into tomorrow at Volvo Cars Edmonton, Canada's only 12-time Volvo Excellence Award winners. Experience the difference.
Volvo of Edmonton.
It's Midnight Madness at the Brick. Stores will be closed on Friday to lower prices and then reopen at 5 p.m. with incredible 7-hour deals in every department. Get 30% off furniture and free local delivery when you spend $4.99 or more. Plus, get 40% off mattresses and buy any TV or appliance to get a $50 credit for furniture, home decor, and mattresses. See in-store for details. The Brick, saving you more.
I couldn't ignore it. Everyone kept saying, "You look so tired."
Are you getting enough sleep, dear?
Hon, you look like you need some rest.
But I'm not tired. I guess I just look that way.
But you don't have to. I'm Dr. Vance Elliott, and I provide skin-refreshing treatments designed to give you a fresh and natural appearance. Don't worry, we won't drastically change how you look, but we will help you look as energetic as you feel. Book your consultation today at drvanceelliott.com.
Are you losing sleep over your debt? Being hounded by collection calls? My name is Parveen Middleton, a licensed insolvency trustee at BDO here in Edmonton. I understand this can be a stressful situation, and I'm here to help. I can put a stop to these collection calls and guide you towards your debt-free future. All it takes is one phone call. Let's discuss your debt relief options during a free consultation. Call 1-833-BDO-TALK or visit bdodebt.ca to learn more.
.448, welcome back. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley with you on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook. How are you on a lovely Monday afternoon? NHL officially gets going tomorrow. I guess unofficially because it got going last. But it starts and it just doesn't feel the same, right? Like one game on Friday, one game Saturday. No one else is playing. But they'll get more teams in the mix tomorrow. And then, of course, the Oilers will get going on Wednesday. As 3 games tomorrow as the Blues and the Kraken, 2:30 Edmonton time. Then the Bruins and the Panthers, they will raise the banner in Florida. And then Utah becomes the 40th franchise in NHL history because there's 32 active and 8 defunct, including the Arizona Coyotes. So Utah, remember, they're a different organization. This is starting from day one. So that's a little unique than some of the other, like when, we've seen teams move cities. This one didn't. This is just a whole complete different organization, which is weird because of lots of the same players, but they're considering it a different organization, which is kind of unique. So they will get going on home ice. And it's funny, Seattle first home game to start their season is this year. Their first 3 years in the league, they haven't started at home. So Utah, though, getting all the bells and whistles. And then some of the Canadian teams get in action on Wednesday. The Maple Leafs are in Montreal. The Jets are in Edmonton. The Flames are in Vancouver. You also have the Rangers and the Penguins and the Avalanche in Vegas. And Ottawa, the last of the Canadian teams that get going, they host the defending champs. Tough opening home game for the Senators against the Florida Panthers on Thursday. Now, let's get to the Con Man. 5 questions brought to you by The Brick. This Friday, 7 hours only, Midnight Madness. So, you are looking for great deals? It's this Friday. Get in only at The Brick and thebrick.com.
It's time for 5 questions on the Jason Gregor Show.
All right, guys. Question number 1. Any Oilers roster moves made this weekend, and we'll say trickling into today, that surprised you the most?
For me, I'd say probably Josh Brown. I was hoping for a little bit more when they signed him. I thought big defenseman, tough, hard to play against. A little unfortunate for him it didn't work out, so a little bit of a surprise for me.
Yeah, maybe. I think that's probably fair. I'm still going to go with Noah Philp. I thought Philp did a lot to make the team. I understand the reasoning because he still hasn't played a game. Like, I know he played some preseason games, but man, I think he's really close, and I don't think it's going to be long before he's back up in Edmonton.
His best game was his last game. I wasn't overly at the beginning. I was like, I'm not seeing what everyone else is seeing, but when I watched him, his last preseason game, I thought he looked really good.
And that was against all Vancouver. Right?
Yeah, and that's what, especially playing against veteran guys, but I thought he moved well, got in on the forecheck. So I was actually, he deserves another shot at some point.
Question number 2. How many games do you think Raphael Lavoie appears in for the Vegas Golden Knights?
I'm not sure. I was looking at their roster. They got a ton of forwards. So I think for him, it's probably going to come down to, opportunity and probably injuries too, because much like his situation here in Edmonton, I don't think he's a 4th line guy. He's going to have to play with some guys that, because he's a shooter that can, make plays. So I don't know an exact number. I just think that, with injuries is going to be his best chance to kind of get some traction.
It's a good question, man. They got 14 forwards right now. So he's just going to have to, I don't know, does he bide his time? Does he even get in on opening night on Wednesday for Vegas? I don't know. How many games does he appear? I will say, I'll go 11. I'll say 11.
11. Ooh, yeah, that's not many.
No.
So he's going to be.
I think he's hard because unless there's some injuries, he doesn't kill penalties. So how's he going to get ice time to get into a rhythm in the game?
So then he's probably going to be in the minors. Like, he's not going to play 11 games and keep him up there.
Well, they might.
Really?
Right,
what a waste of a season.
Oh yeah. Well, half the year maybe. We'll see what happens.
Question number 3. Playoffs officially out of reach for the Elks this season. Any storyline that'll keep you focused on the team?
For me, I would say just Trey Ford. Is he going to play? Is he going to get in a game? And if he gets in a game and he does well, it's not going to look, things don't look great anyway, but it's just going to muddy the water even more. So the whole Trey Ford story kind of continues.
Well, my thoughts on that. No, to me, the number one story is who are they hiring as president and what's their offseason? That's the big one to me. I think right now the intern GM and interim coach haven't helped themselves because they haven't looked like they know what their plan is. From going away from Bethel Thompson to Ford to then back to Bethel Thompson by claiming he's the most consistent. Well, then why'd you ever go back to Ford? It makes no sense, right? Just like it makes no sense not to develop Ford. I don't get it.
Question number 4, playalberta.ca. Looking at the Monday Night Football game today. Chiefs, Saints. Right now, Kansas City favored by 5.5 points. Over under at 43. Those are maybe the more common ones. But if you had a little money to sprinkle in this game, where would you be looking to put the money down?
I don't know. Well, there's a couple injuries for the Chiefs, right? So I think it's going to be close. I'd probably put, what is it? 5.5. 5.5 for the Saints.
Oh, wow. Geez. The Chiefs, they don't score any points. But look at offenses across the league this week. Everybody's offense kind of jumped up and got rolling. Now, the Saints offense rolled for a few games. The Chiefs have won every game without scoring a ton of points. So I'm going to go the over tonight.
And Ian Rappaport just putting it out there, not a surprise. Looks like Rashee Rice season is done after it hyperextended last week. Wasn't looking good. Final question for you guys. It's National Dance Week. So I want to ask you this. Is there a song, past or present, that always gets you out on the dance floor?
I think the only thing for me that gets me on the dance floor is beer. No, I don't know. I kind of like the old Motown, like James Brown, the old school. Whenever you listen to his music, it's got lots of groove, lots of movement to it.
Oh, dude, there's tons. I like dancing a lot. There's tons of
You
songs.
like dancing?
Oh, buddy, I'll get on the dance floor all day, man.
I love this.
Killing
that,
it.
really.
So, no, it's great. You know what? House of Pain, Jump Around's a classic from the old Goose Loonies days. You get me any of the songs from that era, 80s, 90s. You kidding me? Oh, all over for it. So there's lots of really good ones for sure. But I'll go with House of Pain because it was a classic.
Yeah.
All the fellas would get on the dance floor together. It was awesome. I had a good time.
That was easy. Just jump up and down.
Oh, well, yeah, you don't have to do much, but there's lots of other songs that can get you rolling. I want to dance off in high school once.
Really? What kind of moves? What kind of?
I don't know. I can't really describe.
You got
what it
rhythms?
is. Well, I would think so. I don't know. I don't watch myself. It's not like I'm dancing in front of the mirrlet
Yeah. I don't get out there unless I had a few. I'm not like you. Would you ever go out there just?
Well, yeah, I've danced
Really?
sober many times.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
I won the dance off in school. I was in high school. It was during the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was sober.
The old Running Man, or
no, I can do the run. Well, I don't know if I haven't done the Running Man in a long time. I don't know. If
I was never
do that.
I
I was
was never
never great at that. So no, I never had like a set move. Like obviously, I'm not like somebody who's going to go on Dancing with the Stars or one of those, or like Dancing with the Stars wouldn't be it, but more like those. You see those like those high tech dance moves that they do now.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't pulling off any of those back in the day. So it was a little bit more simple dancing times, I think. But I like dancing, man. It's fun. Why not? Get out there.
Oh yeah, it's fun when
the old adage, dance like no one's watching, buddy. Like who
got to
cares?
get the confidence.
I always found like guys who would be cheer. Oh yeah, and I'm like, dude, you're sitting down. Until you dance, shut your mouth.
That's a good point.
Right? So, yeah. Plus, let's get real here. Girls don't really care how good of a dancer you are. It's just if you're willing to dance.
It's true.
Yeah. Although it does help if you can two-step. Spin them around. It's easy, Brownie.
I've never two-stepped. I actually,
You don't know how to two-step?
The first time when I came to the first bar I went to in Edmonton was actually what was it? Cowboys on the West End there, and I was watching people like two-step. I was like, wow, I was in awe. Like it was, you get some people that really know what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's incredible when they're throwing them around and.
Nah. So you've never two-step?
I've never.
I can't.
You know what? I probably two-step with my wife, like just playing around.
Yeah,
in
but
the
you know
house or whatever.
what you should do, Brownie? Now the kids are out of the house. You should
Take some lessons.
100%. Your wife, she'd love it.
Yeah.
When she's probably listening right now. Yeah, please sign me up.
We got to start to. We do have to start to do something because it is getting pretty boring. I'm not gonna lie. With this living on an acreage, we've been busy with lots of
yard work.
and
Oh
things
yeah,
like that. But yeah, we're gonna have to.
All right.
We've been walking a lot.
Okay, well, good enough. Brownie, have yourself a good day. We will chat with you in 2 weeks' time because, of course, it's Holiday Monday next Monday. So we'll chat with you on the
Thanks for the
21st.
heads up for that.
Yeah, there you go. Let's get to Connor Halley and Sports 1440 update brought to you by your Alberta GMC dealers. The Canada-wide clearance is on now at GMC. Get 0% financing for up to 72 months on a 2024 Sierra 1500 elevation. See more at gmcoffers.ca.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
The Edmonton Oilers recalled Matt Lavoie from the Condors, who was acquired from the Sabres from Ryan McLeod and Tyler Tullio. Team also signed Cam Wright to a one-year, two-way deal worth $952,000. Vegas Golden Knights named center Raphael Lavoie from the Oilers. He was drafted by the team back in 2019 in the second round, appearing in just 7 games. Tonight, Week 5 in the NFL will wrap up. The 4-0 Chiefs hosting the 2-2 Saints. Kickoff at 6:15. Earlier today, the Tigers finishing up their game against the Guardians, winning 3-0. That series tied at the game apiece. Later tonight, the Yankees look to take a 2-0 series lead over the Kansas City Royals. And in the association, you got the Sixers hosting the New Zealand Breakers, Grizz in Dallas, Spurs host Thunder, and the Rockets taking on the Jazz. Coming up in hour 4 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll hear from Mark Spector of Rogers Sportsnet and Kevin Woodley from In Goal Magazine. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440 in West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin. CKJR is a Stingray radio station.
Download the free radio player app and listen wherever you go.
The Canada-wide clearance is on at GMC. Get 0% financing for up to 72 months on the 2024 Sierra 1500 elevation.
With Sierra's 13.4-inch diagonal premium GMC infotainment system with Google built-in compatibility, available off-road package with hill descent control, plus an available 3-liter Duramax diesel engine, you can take the road less traveled and try new things, like fishing or whitewater rafting. I should have gone fishing. Ask your GMC dealer for details.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta, new players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet every week all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
I'm Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. And I'm Zach Hyman. And when we're not making juicy, sweet passes or having my goals disallowed, we're working for Legacy Heating and Cooling. You know, guys used to call me a plumber. And now they call you an HVAC technician. Nice.
Hey, guys, you're not here to install furnaces. You're here to sing the jingle.
Oh.
Well.
Okay. Call Legacy. Call Legacy.
No payments and no interest for 1 year from qualified installers. Legacy Heating and Cooling.
At Toyota, we believe your vehicle is more than just a ride. It's family. So make sure it's prepared for whatever Mother Nature has in store. Because winter's a lot like some people's in-laws. It's cold, shows up unexpectedly, and refuses to leave. Trust the experts at Toyota for premium winter tires, batteries, brakes, and more. Beat the winter rush. Book an appointment at shoptoyota.ca or contact your local Toyota dealer today.
.502. Welcome back. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley with you on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook. X as well. Gregor Show is always presented by playalberta.ca. Hope you're having a wonderful Monday. You made it through Monday. Some of you don't like the Mondays, but you made it through. You're getting closer to the start of the NHL regular season. And the playalberta.ca odds, lots of them in favor of the Oilers. If you're a believer, go to playalberta.ca. The Detroit Tigers, big win. So they even up their best of 5 in the ALDS, 1 game apiece after getting spanked in game 1. And now you have the Royals and the Yankees coming up later on tonight for game 2. The NL teams will get in action tomorrow. Of course, three NHL games tomorrow, then 5 on Wednesday, and 9 on Thursday. I think the Anaheim Ducks are the last team to get going in the NHL this year, and I think their debut is on the 11th on Friday. So then everybody will, or it might even be the 12th. I got to double check that. But there was one team that was a little bit later than everybody else, but away you go. Let's get to the spec report brought to you by GS Construction. As one of their main focuses at GS is they like to promote from within, have people that start out and really get to know the business so they can work their way up, give them lots of opportunities. If that's you, I'd recommend it. Applying right now at GS Construction. One of the great examples of that is Mitchell Prince, who started out just in a temporary job. A few years later, he turns it in. He's now their superintendent of water services, GS Construction. Mark Spector joins us. It's kind of like Spec's career. Started out as a pencil pusher, I think he was working at the Gateway, and then boom, next thing you know, he is touring around with Cam Cole, etc. And now, of course, is the one of the national beat guys for Rogers Sportsnet. Spec, the Edmonton Oilers doing some salary cap maneuvering today. They signed Cam Wright to a contract. He's actually on the roster as we speak, as is Matt Savoie. And according to Puckpedia, that puts them $53 shy of the salary cap. And then they will send those guys down. Then they'll move Kane to LTIR. And then that means they can accrue cap space except the $53.
Okay, here's the part that I'm not sure on, and you're way better at this stuff than me. What if they just send the guys back down that they want to send down and get their salary back where they want it, and don't put Kane on LTIR until they have to? Don't they have like $900,000 in cap space?
Well, it's a good question, but the goal of LTIR is to maximize it. You want to be as close as you can to the salary cap, and so I think this is the way they've crunched all their numbers. Like Cameron Wright, because of his contract and everything, and Savoy's bonuses and all that LTIR stuff, they feel this is the way to get as close as they can. So instead of accruing cap space under 88 mil, the accrual is reduced by $53 in space they had when they put them on LTIR. So the only difference is they still accrue it. They just accrue 53 less. So I think they look at it and say, instead of waiting, because we might not be in a situation that can put us at 53, we'll risk the $53 in accrual space. And because really that's not going to be much, and then go from there. Yes.
Yeah, I guess my point would be, I think what they're doing is they set themselves up perfectly, as close as they can be to the cap, in case they do, and I think they'll end up in LTI, for sure, LTIR. They'll be that team. But if everybody stayed healthy and they didn't have to, I think they could still avoid being that team. That's the point I'm making. I think the decision to go in LTIR, and I could be wrong here, but I think once they do these machinations in case they go in LTIR, but it doesn't mean that they necessarily will for sure. Is that fair?
I'm not. Yeah, no, I think this is doing it because they think it's inevitable that they're going to go into it.
Okay. I think we can agree on that. I think it's inevitable too.
Because here's the thing. All it takes is one injury to a guy who makes $1.8 million and you're in it. So, and then when you do that, you might not be able to maneuver your salary cap, your players up and down at that time. Plus, like Matt Savoie, for instance, the reason they're doing this is so if they want to call up Matt Savoie at some point during the season, he'll now only count as 886 because his bonus goes into the LTIR pool. So that's why.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Good.
Yeah.
This stuff bores me. Let's talk about hockey.
Fair enough. Leon Draisaitl, I don't put much stock into it. Chris Knobloch, hey, you know what? I don't put a ton of stock, but, I want to switch my lines around, see what I have. He goes, I know we're going to be different lines at different times. And he basically outlined, the thing I like about Knobloch, he outlines and basically tells you what his thought process is. So his thought process is this. If I play Skinner on my third line, I think we got more balanced scoring on our third line. But I don't have a shutdown third line, so it's one where I got to weigh the options. And then if I put Skinner in the back top six, then we do that maybe in games where we feel if we're on the road and we're worried about, the other team trying to match up. Well, hey, you want to go up against our third line? Knock your socks off. We're pretty comfortable that those guys can handle minutes against the other team's top line. So I could see games, Spec, where, Jeff Skinner, I still think at the end of the season, the majority of his minutes will be with either Draisaitl or McDavid. But I could see games where they look at certain matchups and say, hey, let's spread it out a bit because we're confident we have three lines that can score. And Skinner and Henrique, Skinner's a really good 5-on-5 producer, has been, right? Adam Henrique's pretty good 5-on-5 player. Both of them have outscored Nugent Hopkins for years 5-on-5.
Yeah, I like you like the thought of having three good lines. It makes you tougher to defend than just two for sure. I don't discount anything that Knobloch said today. Like, he's a pretty straight shooter, and he's got a long history, or his history is not long, but his history is he doesn't mind flipping his people around and changing his lines, and he's pretty proactive with that. So you could say to me that that's all he's doing here. I also see this as a shot across Skinner's bow, however. He's been very, very pedestrian in the preseason in the time we've seen him play. Barely noticed him. I think he's 53. I'm not sure why I remember that, because he's barely had the puck. So sure, the coach is trying new things. I respect that. The coach is also telling Skinner, yeah, we're going to give you a little bit of time in the third line here, pal. And you can make of that what you will. Is that fair, Jay? Do you see the same thing I see?
Maybe to a point. I think there might be a little bit of that. But when you hear all the players talk about how preseason they don't put much stock into it, would the coach put that much stock into it? Like Leon Draisaitl said, man, we played 2 games together and I didn't even play very well, right? His words, not mine. And so I don't know. I guess maybe it would seem a tad early and overreactive for me to do that, if that was my main motivation.
Okay. Do you think that, I guess I just see this. Though there was some pretty clear-cut questions at this training camp. The Emberson Nurse thing's a clear-cut question. Can that be a second pair? Well, because of Nurse's injury, Knobloch didn't have a chance to investigate that. So he gets, they're off the hook. It's no one's fault. It just happened. They got 1 game together. I don't know if they're any good as a pair. The Oilers don't know that either. One of the other things was Josh Brown. Can he play? Well, they investigated that and they found out he can't make the team. So he's in Baco. But one of the other things was this second line. We knew since summer that Skinner, Draisaitl, Arvidsson was supposed to be aligned together. They were going to have, they're the second line. And finally, Draisaitl's got these wingers we've been talking about. They got 2 games together. Do you think that the coaching staff could have done a better job of giving that trio a little bit more ice time together, so we'd know? Because I don't think we know if they're any good together yet.
Yeah, maybe I'd say this. I don't think we would have known based on preseason, because I don't think the players are going to give you NHL pace and speed and timing and everything in the preseason.
Yep. I guess I'm with, listen, I've been doing this a long time too. I'm not a guy panicking over some pretty, not a great looking preseason. Whatever, stuff happens. They're a good team. They'll figure it out. But I would say that they've left themselves, they haven't played very good hockey, and all their big guys really aren't coming into the season with a ton of, hey, I had a good preseason. Not a lot of guys had a great preseason. They're looking to basically flip the switch here on Wednesday. I think they're good enough probably to flip the switch, but I think that's the position they're in, Jay, aren't they? They got to flip the switch, because I'll tell you what, I haven't seen much out of that team in preseason. That's okay if you show up Wednesday and you're playing like a real hockey team. But you know what? I'm going to show up at that game and looking for a real hockey team, because I really haven't exactly seen the Oilers that resemble the Oilers yet. Have you?
No. But I didn't really expect it, to be honest. I learned many years ago, I wouldn't say zero, but I put extremely little stock into preseason. It's filled with rosters of players that aren't here, with a pace that doesn't resemble NHL hockey. We've seen Perlinis and Ty Ratties and others play great, which means nothing. We've seen other guys. I'm not sure. I think Leon Draisaitl, who is, second or third best goal scorer in the NHL the last 5 years, I think he has a grand total of 2 maybe 1 preseason goal. He just, I don't, but like Brownie said, he goes, you're not worried about the best players. There's zero reason to be worried about those guys. So to me, if 5 games in, the Oilers are 0-3-2 or 0-4-1 or 1-4, then I'd say, okay, you know what? They're not playing well. But last year they were 6-2 in the preseason. How'd that do them? So I put very good. I put like 1%. And the 1% usually is in for young players to say, hey, is this guy close? Like Noah Philp, I thought was close. And, I could see him being recalled here with all the, there's going to be lots more changes here, in the next 24 hours. I don't think Vegas put in claims. I'm not sure they thought they'd get both of those forwards. I don't think they want 14 forwards on the roster. I won't be surprised if one of them, it might be Raphael Lavoie, who's back on waivers the next day. It's the crappy part of the business, but there's lots of teams now that are shuffling guys around. Look at San Jose. Their opening day roster has 15 forwards and 6 defensemen, because they're trying to get to the cap to put some guys on LTIR, etc. So we'll see a lot of things change out here that way. And I think we'll see a lot of changes. Like the New Jersey Devils spec went 7-0 in preseason last year. And then we're terrible. So preseason, I can't get upset about. I just can't do it.
It's not about wins for sure. It's about, like I want to, again, to me, you go in with some questions and you'd like to at least answer them. And I guess if I have a criticism of the Oilers camp, it's that the major questions never got answered. We're into the season and they're still, Nurse and Emerson, I don't know, they're any fit together. Nobody does.
Yeah, but
the second line, they just took it apart instead of working on it. It's not, there's even practicing together anymore. And Josh Brown's in the minors. So I guess they answered that question, but not the answer they wanted. So maybe we should say this, Jay. They're such an old team. You just said it. Veteran guys, don't worry about veteran guys. The problem with the Oilers is they're all veteran guys, right? When you talk about the one guy that really stood out this camp, it was Noah Philp, one of the only young players they got left here. So I suppose when we look at a team as veteran and as old as the Oilers, we shouldn't expect much more than what we saw in the preseason, should we?
No, and to me, I think it was unrealistic to think any of the questions would be answered as far as players go and everything about them. Like, just because it's so early, a guy could get off to a hot start and play great for 10 games. Like, we can go through the list. Brian Savage, Mr. October, every year is like, oh my God, this guy's a 40-goal scorer. And then reality would kick in. So I try not, I know sadly, especially in the United States, and it creeps in every now and then. People like everybody's got to have a hot take on this guy's terrible. They're brutal. And I'm just like, you know what? The Oilers, if anything, last year proved people need to be calm. And if the Oilers go 13-0, it doesn't mean they're winning the cup. And if they go 6-6, it doesn't mean they're losing the cup. To me, when I look at the Oilers regular season, the main thing I'm going to take away from their regular season is, do they continue to be a good defensive team? Because that's always been an area of weakness. I'm not worried about them scoring goals. They score more goals than anybody else in the league. Like They score
lots of goals.
They've scored over a quarter of a goal more per game than every other team in the league combined over the last 2 years. Offense isn't an issue. It's never an issue. It's not going to be an issue. So can they continue to reduce their goals against 5-on-5? And can they avoid that 8 to 12 game slump of suck that has happened to them every year? That's what I'm looking for.
And it happens to most teams every year. And I guess I'd say to you about preseason, if we can both agree then that it doesn't really matter, and if we can both agree that the veterans really don't care, and we can both agree that you're not answering any of your pertinent questions during preseason, what the hell are they playing 8 games for? Right? What a waste of time. What are we doing?
No,
there's not even a single rookie that's going to make this team, so you can't say they're playing it for the rookies. Like, give me 2 games to start the season. If no one cares, then I don't care either. How about that?
Oh no, dude! Trust me. I've been pounding the drum for years. 8, and remember, the majority of the league doesn't play 8. It's Edmonton and Calgary. Actually, it's Florida this year, surprisingly, and a few other teams. That's it. The majority are 6. Some are 7, and thankfully, we might only have 1 more year of it. Because having talked to a few GMs here in the last few weeks, there's lots of traction for the 84-game regular season and fewer preseason games. So, I don't know if they'll be the only people who will complain about that are young players who want to who want a few more games. That's just the harsh reality of it, though.
That's why they have rookie camp, buddy. Right?
Yeah. So it's true. Spec, one last one for you. What do you think Edmonton does, the Elks, that is, the final 2 weeks of the season? They said Bethel Thompson was the most consistent guy. So do they stick with that, even though 3 weeks ago they didn't stick with it when they went to Trey Ford? What do you think they do the final 2 weeks?
Oh, who could possibly know? Who could possibly know what they're doing? They moved away from the guy that wins way more games to the guy that loses way more games. They brought Trey Ford back after injury under the auspices of, well, you can't lose your job to injury. And then he played and they took him out and they put the other guy in anyway. And now the season's over. I mean, the game yesterday, they're pretty much done. And they play MBT anyhow. And as I said to Kevin this morning, all MBT's showing us is he's just good enough to get you beat. There's a reason you lose by 7 or 5 or 4 every single night when this guy's playing, because he's just good enough to get you close, but he can't win. He doesn't win. Can he play in the league? Yeah, he can play in the league for sure. Can he win in the league? Look at his record in Edmonton last year, 2 years. You know it. You do all these stats all the time. Don't tell me he can win in the league. He ain't winning in this league. Trey Ford gets the exact same lineup around him, and his record's infinitely better, right? All the same receivers, all the same offensive line, all the same running backs, and he has somewhere close to a 500 record. This guy walks in the door, and he loses every, 3 out of every 4 games. So I don't know who they're playing. That organization needs to take a long sit down. They got to get a president, then they got to get a GM. I doubt Trey Ford signs here in the offseason. I wouldn't if I were him, though he may not have any options. They got to figure some stuff out. A positive season, Jay, is ending on a negative note, and that's too bad because they did get some traction in this town, didn't they?
Oh, if you can be a competitive team, I think. Spec, we got to go to break, but I'll say this. Here's the moves I would think the new owner priority for me. Number one, you hire a president who's got some business acumen, but also has a decent enough understanding so it can hire a good GM. Hire the GM, and my GM, I think it's easy. I'm hiring Ed Hervey for a variety of reasons. I want a GM. Edmonton, it doesn't matter as much for the Oilers because they're the big dog in the city. But I do believe wholeheartedly, and it helps, don't get me wrong, but I believe the GM of the Elks has to live in the city year-round, right? Now, Stan Bowman moves here now, probably in Edmonton lots, but might go away. You need a guy who resides here, who goes to events to see stuff because the Elks aren't the Oilers. They're not in the same category. So I think that matters. I think it's somebody who understands Edmonton. I think it's very important. And the other one I think they would do is I think they're going to change the name. They're going to change one letter, and it's going to be the Esks moving forward. And,
you think so?
And I would do it because I think it appeases a lot of people, and I think it makes sense for a variety of reasons. And as many people who are upset by the name, there was many Inuit people who were honored by the name Eskimos.
Yes, there was.
So this is a way to kind of meet in the middle. It's a strange thing in the world called compromise, and that's what I would do and start from there. Because I firmly believe if Hervey's your GM, you will have a direction and a conversation with Trey Ford to say, okay, here's our plan. This is what we're going to do. Are we going to help you get a veteran quarterback who can be the backup and maybe goes in some games to for a quarter here? 100%. You need that. You can't just have rookies on rookies and rookies learning from each other. You need a good backup for sure, a veteran guy, who maybe can push you a little bit. But at the end of the day, it's like, we're going to plan. This is how we're going to develop you. This is what our plan is. And but you need the GM, and I would have it done by, I would want my president and GM done by the end of the month.
No, they got to get started right away. They need stability and something to build off of. And right now they're all over the map here, and nobody knows if they're here next year. And they need some stability in this town, and it will start with the owner. It'll start when the season's over. Let's get after it here.
Yeah, you bet. Awesome, buddy. Thanks, man.
All right, man.
There you go. That's Mark Spector, the Spec Report brought to you by GS Construction. When we come back, we've previewed the Atlantic and the Metro in the Central. Today, Kevin Woodley will preview the Pacific Division rankings for goaltenders in the Pacific. Where does Skinner and Pickard, and they're number 3, where do they rank? Find out next on The Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Some things just work together. Sticks and pucks, cleats and AstroTurf. Your love for the game and Papa John's passion for better ingredients. Better pizza. Nothing pairs with the game like Papa John's. Crafted with signature sauce, toppings, and original fresh dough. They're the champion of pizza. And now you're the champion of winning deals. Just order at papajohns.ca. Use promo code SPORTS20 and score 20% off any regular menu price order. Better ingredients. Better pizza. Papa John's. That's SPORTS20.
It's Midnight Madness at the Brick. Stores will be closed on Friday to lower prices and then reopen at 5 p.m. with incredible 7-hour deals in every department. Get 30% off furniture and free local delivery when you spend $4.99 or more. Plus, get 40% off mattresses and buy any TV or appliance to get a $50 credit for furniture, home decor, and mattresses. See in store for details. The Brick, saving you more.
Drive, pick, and win. All this month at Nisku Ford. Drive off in a brand new Ford with 0% financing or choose up to $24,000 in rebates. Then celebrate the season by picking your very own prize pumpkin from the Nisku Ford Pumpkin Patch. With every car purchase, new or used, you could plug TVs, gaming systems, AirPods, and more. Get all the prize details at niskuford.ca. Above expectations.
At the end of the day, a job well done is something I can see and touch. At the end of the day, I'm proud to see the things I'm building in my community. At the end of the day, I cash my paycheck without worrying about student debt because I never had any. At the end of the day, I wouldn't trade a career in the trades for anything.
Get more with a career in the trades. Explore careers at alberta.ca/trades. A message from the Government of Alberta.
At Toyota, we believe your vehicle is more than just a ride. It's family. So make sure it's prepared for whatever Mother Nature has in store. Because winter's a lot like some people's in-laws. It's cold, shows up unexpectedly, and refuses to leave. Trust the experts at Toyota for premium winter tires, batteries, brakes, and more. Beat the winter rush. Book an appointment at shoptoyota.ca or contact your local Toyota dealer today.
I'm Rick Showers from No Bull RV, and the time to think about winterizing your RV is before the snow flies. There's a lot of steps you need to take to winterize your trailer or motorhome.
And you have to get every step right every single time. Right, Rick?
That's right, Bob, because if you make even a little mistake, you might not realize it till spring. And by then, it's too late to fix what you got wrong.
Hey, Rick, do you winterize your own trailer?
Not anymore, Bob. I hired people who are smarter than me. Genius technicians who check every component. Dozens of systems to be maintained and protected. And today, we offer that service to you, starting at $99. Every winterization package comes with a full report in writing, so you know what to expect come spring. If you're confident to do it yourself, have at it. If you're like me and you'd rather have this done by somebody who knows what they're doing, then come to Noble, and we'll take care of you.
And that's Noble.
NobleRV.ca.
.525, welcome back. Gregor, Connor Halley on a busy Monday. Lots is happening. And remember, for all the opening day rosters you see today, there will be some changes across teams, including the Edmonton Oilers. They've recalled Matt Savoy. They signed Cameron Wright to a two-way deal. And those guys will be on the roster. Then you can, and they'll be 53 shy on the opening day roster. Then you can move Kane to LTIR, and they would be $53 shy. And then they'll send those guys back down to the minors, and might be some other finagling. Because then if the Oilers want, they could, if they choose, have more guys on the roster now, while also accruing space, and away they go. So lots of different factors. There's some other teams in the similar boats who see, like San Jose's opening day roster has 15 forward, 6 defensemen. That obviously isn't going to last. But they're doing it to maximize, because I think they've got some guys there they're going to put on LTR. Then they'll make some changes. There's already rumblings in Vegas. They didn't think they were going to get both of the guys that they put in claims for. One, of course, being Raphael Lavoie. So, there's talk that they might put one of him or Schwint, Cole Schwint on waivers tomorrow. So, we'll see. Now, Lavoie has a $25,000 less cap hit. Does that play a factor? I don't know. But they're both right wingers. So it's probably why they're not going to, not going to have him. Schmidt, of course, had played 4 games with Calgary last year. He had played with the Panthers, I think, in a few games in 2022. I think they both played 7. Cons, you can double check that, but I think they both have 7 NHL games. The difference was all of Lavoie's came last season. So there you go. So we'll see. It's a little bit smaller than Raphael Lavoie. He's 6'2", like about 185, ish, something like that. So
both 7 games played, 0 points and 2 penalty minutes.
For both?
For both, yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Same stat line.
There you go. Nice. Now, let's get to the oil report brought to you by VolvoCarsEdmonton.com. They are Canada's #1 Volvo dealership. 13 years running awards in excellence for both service and sales. Why? Because they have a great working environment, and they don't just sell you a car. They ensure that you get good service for the duration of you owning the car. VolvoCarsEdmonton.com. As we welcome in Kevin Woodley from In Goal Magazine and NHL.com. Woodley, how you doing?
I'm good. Still smarting from calling the Maple Leafs #1 in the our last rankings last week. Boy, did I take that one on the chin on Twitter. Just a reminder, folks, this is based on the smart math. This is based on the adjusted save percentages largely. I mean, there's a little bit of intuition there, but the math says they are. And if they stay healthy, I'm actually willing to take some of those bets many of you are offering, although not so willing to accept some of the names you were calling me in the process.
Oh, yeah. Well, Twitter, where did you see people were upset how Frank wrote in his prediction that Columbus would win the draft lottery, and he put in with a little help from Gaudreau, obviously meaning divine intervention. And these people like, he didn't mean to die. What he'd like, they're so they think he meant that the help of him passing away is what he meant. And it's not what he meant. It's unbelievable. Their ability to incorrectly interpret someone and then blame you for how you said it. It's stunning to me, but nonetheless. So let's get to the Pacific Division rankings, 1 through 8. For anybody out there who's listening for the first time, Kevin does his rankings based on not just the tandems, but also the #3 goalie in the organization. So let's start. Who do you have #8, Kev?
I'm gonna play a little guessing game for you and your listeners first. How many day one starting tandems in the Pacific Division do you think actually had both guys above expected in terms of save percentage last year? Out of 8 teams.
I'm going to say 2.
It was only 1.
Oh.
Can you guess who it was?
Yeah, Edmonton.
There you go. Your Edmonton Oilers. So that tells you where I'm probably going to have them in the rankings, definitely near the top. Now, at the other end of the list, we're going to start a little further down the highway in Calgary. And this one's a tough one because the math says what it says last year.
Yep.
Wolf, Vladar, and Cooley all under expected. Cooley obviously on a different team in San Jose. But there's a ton of upside here, Jason. Like, I think we all know what Dustin Wolf can be as he gets comfortable in the league. Dan Vladar has given them some really good stretches over the past couple of years, and a lot of his numbers last year were deflated by playing through the hip injury that ultimately required surgery, and by all accounts, he's better now. And Cooley gives them some really nice upside in the 3 spot. Some tough games last year, but also a lot of potential that a lot of teams took note of. So I think Calgary is really happy just to get him through waivers today. So I put them 8th, but I think that environment might be really tough this year in Calgary with a team that's in rebuild mode. But an opportunity for, frankly, the 2 guys in the NHL and maybe even Cooley to shut me up by the end of the year. And I wouldn't be disappointed if they did, because I like the upside there. It's just the math is what the math is at this point.
Okay.
Next up is kind of a toss-up between the Ducks and the Sharks. And, we talk about teams that don't have, a lot of guys or just have 1 guy above expected. I'm going to go with the Ducks in 7 because the guy who's supposed to be their starter actually had the worst numbers of the 3. Dostal will start for now. They claim James Reimer off waivers today. James actually played pretty good behind a porous Detroit team last year, finished right at expected. Dostal was plus 0.3, but Gibson was a full percentage point below. He could be as many as 3 weeks away. Not a great way to start your season if you're the Anaheim Ducks with your #1 guy out as much as 6 weeks with the appendectomy. So again, I expect Reimer, once Gibson is back, chance to prove himself and remind people he's an NHL goaltender. And he's a guy that could probably end up right back on waivers when Gibson comes back. But right now they're kind of in that 7 spot and just barely behind the San Jose Sharks, who may have the most upside in their #1 and #3 spots. Mackenzie Blackwood, if he could ever stay healthy, I could see him playing his way right onto Team Canada spot for 4 Nations. Like, that's the upside they see there. That's the upside I've seen him in years. Tougher at times to see it in San Jose, but despite playing behind that team and being in net for a couple of nights where they put up some pretty crooked numbers defensively. He still finished with a positive, adjusted save percentage, and that's saying something. Vanacek, a lot of question marks in the backup spot at -1% last year for New Jersey and coming off injury. And Askarov, for all the potential, didn't get into any preseason because of a training camp injury. He's had a cup of coffee with Nashville and showed really well, but I still improve it mode for me with Yaroslav Askarov, and didn't do himself any favors, obviously, with the injury. Not that that's his fault. So I've got them at 6. Next up on the list at 5. And this is another tough one, because sort of right around that 5-4-3 range is a bit of toss-up, because they've all got pluses and minuses. I've actually got Vegas at 5.
Okay.
And again, Adin Hill, much like Mackenzie Blackwood, very similar adjusted numbers last year. Hill slightly better. Samsonov comes in as the backup. Logan Thompson was a reliable, good. Well, I shouldn't say reliable. Logan Thompson, when he played, was a good backup for them. He's gone. Samsonov comes in, and despite playing behind some pretty good Toronto defensive efforts last season, well down at -1.1%. I think Akira Schmidt in the 3-hole is a guy that has lots of upside and might be a perfect fit for the way they teach down there. That Sean Burke, Benoit Allaire, play deep, cut off that, make things a little simpler in front of you. But he's going to start in the minor leagues, and he's coming off a tough year with New Jersey last year. So, upside there in Hill, but same questions as Blackwood. Both guys that could be on Team Canada, and both guys that have yet to show they can make it through a season. If you're detecting a theme here for the number one goaltenders around the Pacific Division. Next up, and this one is another one. Again, these 3 teams could kind of be in the same mix. Got Seattle in 4. Joey Decord had a really good season last year, and at the end of it was still at just plus 0.4%, which is right there with Blackwood, despite playing in a better defensive environment, slightly behind Adin Hill. Grubauer's numbers don't fall off as much in the backup spot, just below expected, as the other 2 teams, and that's why I've got them ranked ahead of them in 4 spot. The question there, Alice Stezka in the minor leagues is their number 3, no NHL experience, a lot of question marks, potential, but I don't think you need to rely on him as much when you have 2 guys that can both start for you ahead of him. It's not like you're in a starter backup, so if the starter gets hurt, you're definitely going to need the number 3 to play a bunch. I think you've got 2 1As there in Decord and Grubauer, and so you don't worry so much about that 3-hole.
Now, do you think Decord is going to be the main starter and Grubauer is going to have to try to fight his way back to the starting job?
I'm really curious to see how it goes. I honestly don't know, Jason. They've kind of yo-yoed over the past couple of years. Like Joey Decord had a really good season last season. And
yes.
And at the same time, like there's the contract and Grubauer's shown at times that he can still be that guy, as much as I still, that contract was probably too much coming out of Colorado where there was a lot more insulation. He's got starter potential. Like they're both guys that they're probably not going to win you a ton of games on their own, but they shouldn't be the reason you lose. And that's not a bad thing when you play the way the Seattle Kraken have so far in their existence. What I'm curious is, can they balance that defensive responsibility that they had 2 years ago to get in the playoffs and upset Colorado in the first round with finding a little more offense that was just missing on most nights? Tough way to play as a goaltender as well. I'm not sure Decord and Grubauer get credit for that when your team just doesn't score. And that one mistake, maybe one too many, and Seattle kind of fell into that trap a little bit last year.
So we're down to the final 3. Kevin Woodley joins us here on Sports 1440 Oilers Nation, YouTube and Facebook. Vegas is 5, Seattle is 4, and then we have the bottom 3 teams: San Jose, Anaheim, Calgary, who I think everybody has as the bottom 3 teams in the division. So who do you have number 3?
Well, my question for you: do I get to count Thatcher Demko with the Vancouver Canucks or not?
Well, I guess the question is, you can count him, but his injury it's got to be a concern.
It absolutely is a concern. Now, I've got him, the buzz is around. I had originally heard late October. There seems to be some push that it could be even later than that. They're not in a rush because they got Lankinen. At the end of the day, without Demko, with Lankinen and Shelovs, they still have the second or third best goaltending in the Pacific Division by the numbers. So, if I count Demko, they rise as high as top because he's the only guy in the division that sort of has that Vezina Trophy caliber elite status and history. But just like Hill and just like Blackwood, obviously the injuries are a real risk. I think the fall off there is less. Silov's numbers weren't great last season, but we saw what he could do in the playoffs. And Lankinen, you've heard me all year talk about how he's ready to pop. So I'd kind of have them 3 without Demko and probably first with him. The Kings slide in at second without him and third if Demko's counted. David Rittich has the best adjusted numbers in the entire Pacific Division at plus 1.7%. I was shocked at how long it took them to go to him last year, especially considering Talbot's numbers for the season were more in the 70s around the NHL and well below expected. Rittich gave them really good minutes. The question seems to be, can you count on him to be a number one? And there are a lot of questions about Darcy Kemper. And was last year strictly health or the beginning of the end for a guy who has been remarkably consistent pretty much right up till that point, and outside of the injury he played through during the Cup run. So Kings and Canucks in that sort of 2-3 hole without Demko. And then number one, if there's no Demko, is your Edmonton Oilers. And I'm sure that for all the hand-wringing over the goaltending there, I'm sure that will be welcome news. Stuart Skinner, as I mentioned earlier, the only team with a tandem that were both on the positive side. Skinner finished at plus 0.7% and Picard at plus 0.3. So questions about Delia, who hasn't had a lot of success in the NHL in the last couple of years, and the depth beyond that. But number 1 and 2, you're as comfortable as any team in the division outside of a Demko-Lankinen tandem there in Edmonton for the season.
Interesting. So you have Delia, not Rodrigues. So you think he'd be the first guy they recall, and you could be right.
And listen, Rodrigues had some great season in the AHL. I didn't get a ton of looks at him in the preseason. The one game I did check in on didn't go so great.
No.
But hey, like when you haven't played up in a while, sometimes it takes a little while. So there's a lot more question marks about their 3 spot than there is in, say, Vancouver, where it's Shilov's the one Demko's back, or even Yuri Patera, frankly.
Yeah.
If Demko doesn't come back.
Lastly, before I go, what are you hearing on Demko? What's a timeline for him at all? Any?
I think they're being very careful not to give a timeline, because then we start asking questions when it is that time. And I think much like the injury itself, which I described to you a few weeks ago, there's just a lot of uncertainty that surrounds it. And so they don't want to pin themselves down in a timeline. I said like 7 weeks ago, I was hearing late October, so sort of third week of October. And it now sounds like it might be another week or more past that. I think the focus now that they have Lankinen and Shilovs, you saw that in the final preseason game, as much as the Oilers didn't test him a ton, I thought he looked really good. And he did in basically 2 of his 3 preseason starts. You sort of know what the pedigree and the upside is there, and the way he handles these things mentally. They're comfortable with that tandem, which means they're not going to push the timeline up on Demko as long as those guys are playing well at the start of the season. There's some whispers and some rumblings that everything is great when it's structured and a goalie coach is running it, and that it doesn't go as well as soon as things get a little more wide open game-like situations. But we haven't had a chance ever since the Penticton camp, which I wasn't at. They have done a very good job of keeping him away from our eyes since practices returned to Rogers Arena and UBC.
Interesting. Kev, good stuff, man. Look forward to seeing the season. Of course, we'll have lots of games to uncover by next Monday as the puck unofficially dropped on Friday, but the North American NHL gets going tomorrow. Lots of 6 Canadian teams in on Wednesday. The Senators, the last one, will play Friday, and I think the Ducks are the last team to get going. It's either Friday or Saturday. And we'll rock and roll, man. Should be fun.
Looking forward to it, Jason. Look forward to talking to you next week, too.
I bet you. Actually, yeah. We'll probably do it next Tuesday, though, with Kev, because we're off for Thanksgiving next Monday. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley with you on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook. Quick break. We'll return on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Things just work together. Sticks and pucks, cleats and AstroTurf. Your love for the game and Papa John's passion for better ingredients, better pizza. Nothing pairs with the game like Papa John's. Crafted with signature sauce, toppings, and original fresh dough. They're the champion of pizza. And now you're the champion of winning deals. Just order at papajohns.ca. Use promo code SPORTS20 and score 20% off any regular menu price order. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's. That's Sports 20.
New Cheese Nuggets.
This is Nuge's Nuggets, brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. What nugget of heating and cooling advice does Nuge have today?
You can save a lot of money by bundling your new furnace and AC with Legacy. It's kind of like saving money on an endorsement by bundling me, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, with someone like, Zachary Martin Hyman.
Thanks for suggesting me, Nuge. Get no payments and no interest for 1 year on your new AC and furnace from Legacy Heating and Cooling. Proud sponsor of Nuge's Nuggets.
Are you getting a share of the profits from your bank? Each year, Vision Credit Union returns about 75% of our profits to our members through profit shares and cash dividends. In fact, last year, Vision Credit Union members received their share of $26.7 million. Think about it. It's time you got your share of the profits. Find out how right now at whatsyourshare.ca. That's whatsyourshare.ca.
Come on down. Get your tickets now for The Price is Right live in the venue at River Cree Resort and Casino. 3 big shows November 2nd and 3rd. Plinko, The Big Wheel, and more live. Plus, register to be a contestant to win. You just might hear your name called, inviting you to come on down and play The Price is Right live this November. Tickets at rivercreeresort.com.
River Cree Resort and Casino. Excitement. Bet on it.
The Canada-wide clearance is on at GMC. Get 0% financing for up to 72 months on the 2024 Sierra 1500 Elevation. With Sierra's 13.4-inch diagonal premium GMC infotainment system with Google built-in compatibility, available off-road package with hill descent control, plus an available 3-liter Duramax diesel engine, you can take the road less traveled and try new things, like fishing or whitewater rafting. I should have gone fishing. Ask your GMC dealer for details.
At Fountain Tire, we love jingles. Get up to 25% off select tires.
Until October 19th.
Plus a bonus $50 off any service of $150.
Restrictions apply.
Book online today. Fountain Tire. We're on this road together.
.547. Welcome back. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley, Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook. We have lots of text to get to, 833-401-1440. Hey, guys, so Woodley, who's someone I really respect, now thinks the Oilers' goaltending is good. I'm torn because I don't think it is, from Dan. Well, okay, Dan, so my question is why? Right? It's okay to say you don't, but you have to back it up with something. So what is it they don't think is good about it? As he said, the only goalie tandem who had saves above expected, better last year. The only team in the division was Edmonton. That was it. And the interesting thing about the goaltending position is, and it's why I think it's been a challenge for goalies to get paid more than Vasilevsky or Bobrovsky, because as they look at numbers and you see like the best forwards, they produce almost seemingly regardless of whether or not, the system they play. Whereas the goalie's numbers can fluctuate depending. Now, if they give up more chances, but if the goalie's job is to save it. Now, I'm not saying you just want a shooting gallery. I understand that. But if your goalie is only going to be really good and worth $10 million, if you have a great system in front of him, then it's hard to pay him $10 million because you need to spend some of that money on other players so they're better. Right? I think that's becoming a challenge for goaltenders. I really do. Like Jerry Swayman just got 8 years at 8.25. Hell of a contract. Don't get me wrong. $6 million. But Carey Price signed for over $10 million years ago when the cap was lower. And I'm kind of fascinated to see the negotiation for Shesterkin. And because he's got really good numbers at times, but he didn't have a dominant year last year. Remember, he didn't. And the Rangers have allowed the second fewest goals in the NHL in the salary cap era. Now they've had Henrik Lundqvist. They've been good lately. They've been still really good. I'm going to get Kevin on that as we get closer to when Shesterkin's a free agent to look and say, okay, so where does he rank in all the saves? So we can do saves above expected as one, then we can do just straight out save percentage as another and combine all these things together and say, okay, what's the value? And is it worth it? Because if you want to pay that guy 10.5 or 11 million bucks, where his numbers to be good are dependent on the style that you play in front of him. Right? It's not as obvious. Like this offensive guys seem to produce regardless. It's not, because let's be honest, is there an offensive system out there that you're aware of? Not really. You might play a little bit more dump and chase for some teams than others. That can impact it somewhat, but not a massive amount. Like, I don't know many coaches who tell their superstar guys, hey, I want you to dump and chase. Not really. So I wonder how much that impacts into it. So it'll kind of be fascinating to see how it goes. Hey guys, Stranger Russian would get better as he ages from Trav. Well, for the record, Trav, Ovechkin hasn't gotten better as he ages. His numbers have slowed down a little bit the last few seasons, right? But what he did was he, like a lot of superstars, Tom Brady, LeBron James, and others, like Ovechkin was able to maintain, 50-goal seasons in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. In his 17th season, he still scored 50 goals. Pretty impressive. But he's slowly been declining 50, 42, 31 the last 3 years. So, you know what? Eventually, age does catch up with everybody. But Ovi did go on a heck of a run, 23 goals in his final 36 games last year. Pretty impressive. But I don't know if it's just because he's Russian. I think there's an underlying tone there that maybe you're inferring that a Russian might be taking drugs, and I get it. Hey, that country, so sure. But if North American guys, Americans and Canadians are doing it, and Sidney Crosby just had, one of the best seasons of his career, right, at the age of 36, how come no one ever is, wow, they're Canadian, they're American, right? Like, I understand because Russia has a history of cheating. So it's fair. But that doesn't mean everybody cheats. And like Crosby scored 42 goals last year. He hadn't scored 42 goals since 2017. He had actually only ever scored more than 42 goals 2 other times in his career. At the age of 36, he did it. I just think he's, like athletes have learned to train better, right? Like, look at Connor McDavid. He has a personal chef. So he's up on everything nutrition. And you know what? It's the one thing in our society we need more education on, is what proper nutrition can do and help us to maximize our brain capabilities, our physical capabilities, so much stuff. So, these guys, hey, they got endless amount of money, so they can get a chef who gets them all the best stuff. I understand it, but I don't think it's just about a Russian. That would just be me, though. Enjoy the Monday Nighter, the Chiefs and the Saints, also the Yankees and the Royals. So KC, what a night if you're a KC fan. Woo! Royals and the Chiefs. You're torn. You're watching both. Probably great. Tomorrow, we'll sort out more of the salary cap for teams around the leagues. We got some games to discuss. We'll find out likely later who the Elks starting a quarterback. Much, much more. And then, of course, Wednesday, season opener. It's going to be a great week. Have a great time. Let's get to the Con Man Sports 1440 update. Brought to you by the 6th annual Jason Gregor Pizza Pig Out in support of Kids Sport. You like helping kids get into sports? You love pizza? Well, just over 2 weeks away, the 24th. Get your tickets at jasongregorpizzapigout.com.
This is the Sports 1440 update.
The Edmonton Oilers recalled Matt Savoie from the Bakersfield Condors. Savoie was acquired by the team from Buffalo for Ryan McLeod and Tyler Tullio. The team also signed Cam Wright to a one-year, two-way deal worth $952,000. Wright appeared in 48 games with the Condors last season, recording on 21 points in 48 games. The Vegas Golden Knights claimed center Raphael Lavoie from the Oil, was drafted back in 2019 in the second round. He appeared in just 7 games with the organization at the pro level. The team also claimed winger Cole Schmidt from the Calgary Flames. Veteran goaltender James Reimer was claimed off waivers by the Anaheim Ducks today after spending time with the Sabres in training camp and the preseason. Zach Aston-Reese claimed by the Columbus Blue Jackets, and the Canucks claiming goaltender Yuri Patera off waivers from the Boston Bruins. The Toronto Maple Leafs signed forwards Max Pacioretty and Steven Lorentz to one-year contract extensions. They also inked defenseman Cade Weber to a contract extension. And in the NFL, Week 5 concludes tonight as the Chiefs will host the Saints just after 6:15. Major League Baseball today, the Tigers even up their series with the Guardians with a 3-0 win. Right now, Yankees and Royals scoreless heading into the second. The Yankees on top of that series, 1-0. And in the association, the preseason rolling on right now. Sixers beating up on the New Zealand Breakers, 56-30. That's in the second quarter. Later tonight, the Grizzlies are in Dallas. Spurs host the Thunder, and the Rockets take on the Jazz. Earlier today, Pelicans get past the Magic, 106-104. That's going to do it for us here on the Jason Gregor Show. Coming up next, we've got Fox Sports Radio from 6 till 7 a.m., and we will have the Kevin Carius Show with Carius, Chris Sheets, and Brandon Douglas. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
This is Sports 1440, a Stingray radio station.